Welcome to the Gaelan Trombley Show. You can find me on Facebook at Gaelan Trombley, on Instagram at Gaelan Trombley, and on YouTube at Gaelan Trombley. Spelling GaelanTrombley. Enjoy the show. On episode 32 of the Gaelan Trombley Show, I have my brother-in-law, Derek Rosenbaum, joining me. We talk a lot about music. We talk about golf. We talk about coffee, maple syrup, and we even get into puking at the end. So we hope you guys enjoy episode 32 of the Gaelan Trombley Show. Welcome to the Gaelan Trombley Show. Welcome to episode 32 of the Gaelan Trombley Show. My guest today is my brother-in-law, Derek Rosenbaum. Derek grew up and lived here his whole life and now is raising a family locally in the area. So we're going to get right into it. I'm sure we're going to cover a lot of unique and different topics today. But Derek, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
First podcast. So he's...
it feels good so far.
That's it. I think we can end there, right? Derek is my brother-in-law. I married his younger sister, and I met you. I don't know when I met you. Obviously, after we got together, but I don't remember the first time I met you because we got together right before Chris.
Too.
You did,
yeah.
We'll talk about that later. Yeah, so you actually were the one that officially sealed the deal.
I met you outside of the Comfort Inn at a shop.com.
That was it. That was the first time.
I think
that was
so,
before
yeah.
I think I was actually dating her.
Yeah. That's when she was trying to steal you away from the gym, or
that's it. Yes.
Whatever.
Yeah. So that's and that's Gina's way of putting it lately. So yeah, we've known each other now for probably 5 years. I don't know. I got to look back. I think it's 5 years. I think we met in 2014. 2014, late 14.
Yeah.
So about going on 5 years, 4.5. Feels like 5, right?
Feels like a lifetime.
So we met there, and I think that's it. I actually didn't know any of you before, and then after I ended up getting with Gina, everybody just was like, "Oh yeah, I know the Rosenbaums, or I know this person or Gina or Derek." And I think I was the only person in the area that didn't know you guys until I met Gina at the gym. So yeah, here we are. So now it's all good. But we've done quite a bit over the last few years in regards to between trips and golf and outings and events and just fun conversation. So Derek, for people that do not know you, give them a little background so they have some context.
Myself, I am, you said episode 32. That's 5 years younger than I am. I just turned 37. So I thought that was appropriate.
Fitting.
But not exactly. But no, yeah, I have lived here my whole life. I went to, let's see, where do you want me to start?
You can start. You can. 37 years ago, you can start there. I mean, kind of where you grew up, where you went to school, high school, college, kind of things like that.
Yeah, so I was a Catholic school child, raised in the delightful Catholic schools of the North Country, and ended up at Seton for high school, then Plattsburgh State for college. I did 4 years there, and then, excuse me, I didn't really go right into work after that. I took a cross-country trip and with one of my buddies, and then tried to find something to do sort of in my field, which was psychology, and that didn't really work out. And then found my way into real estate appraisal, and then I went into the city assessor job for a few years, and then started my own appraisal company after that. So that's where I'm at right now. And then I've also got the shop.com business, which I've had for about almost 11 years now. And own some real estate apartments and make syrup in the late spring or the early spring, late winter. That's probably my most favorite thing. We'll talk about Sugar Bomb.
Yes.
We took up skiing and snowboarding this summer with the kids, which was fun. This winter.
Skiing, water skiing. We no, when the kids get older, I want to go do like little like weekend trips or something to go skiing, because Gina snowboarded for the longest time, and I've I love skiing. I only go like maybe once a year if I'm lucky, but I think we'll get the kids on skis pretty cool. You guys ski or snowboard?
Well,
Because you've done both, right?
I haven't skied. No, I just did snowboarding.
Okay.
Connor tried snowboarding. My son tried snowboarding, and this was his first time trying this winter. And then Madeline, my daughter, tried skiing because she wanted to ski. And then I bought a snowboard, which I hadn't snowboarded since, 15, 20 years ago. Gina, your wife, my sister, took me out 3 or 4 times, and like right after college, and like I think for maybe 1 or 2 winters, and that was it. And I sort of learned it, but then the kids, we were like, let's do something for the winter because it's just a long winter. But
so did Connor get up on the snowboard? Because what I was told from everybody that snowboarding is a little more difficult. Like skiing to me is easy. Like I picked up skiing fairly quick. Snowboarding I haven't done since I was in junior high, and when I did it back then, I don't think I wasn't strong enough to kind of do like the kind of the tilting and kind of the carving and stuff that you would have to do on a snowboard. Where skiing was just a little more natural feel. I see little kids blow by me all the time on the slopes. So I mean, I'm sure he's like that when they have no fear and they just bomb down the hill. But did he pick that up pretty easily?
No.
The snowboard? Because I would assume the skiing's probably easier for young kids too.
It is. Madeline picked up skiing like ridiculous. It was probably, we went to Beartown. That's the only place. Well, no, we went to Titus too. That kids got lessons there. Connor got snowboard lessons. Madeline got skiing lessons. But Madeline, our neighbor who went up with us, taught her real quick one night at Beartown, and she pretty much had it. And then she got the lessons at Titus, but she was, by the end of the day, she didn't need any help, and she was just rolling right down the mountain back and forth. Connor, snowboarding is harder, but
yeah.
I mean, at his age, 7 years old, it was definitely easier to learn then than it is when you're an old person. But he
hurts
did
less too when you fall.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing with snowboarding. The big difference is, I'm watching Madeline go down, and I'm like, and all the skiers, because most people at Beartown are skiers, but it's like you've got 2 skis. So if you kind of lose control with one leg, you can hold yourself up with the other one and kind of recover maybe before you just automatically just fall down. Whereas snowboarding, if you catch an edge, like there's just one board and that's it, you're down. You're either face first or you're on your back. So that was difficult. And Connor did great, but it was definitely harder for him to learn and pick it up. And I don't think he just didn't like it as much as Madeline liked skiing. She just took to it, and she couldn't get off the mountain. Yeah,
I think it's just a good sport, especially with the late winters here, because I mean, summer-wise, you're going to find sports, whether it be soccer or, I mean, we both play golf, and Connor's played that, and I would love to get Crew and Baby 2 in it. So yeah, if we happen to cut this short, it's because Gina went into labor. So we're very, very close, but it is
could
what
be
it is.
A historical podcast.
I think.
Well, it is because I'm on, but
so nothing yet. So the phone's still on.
All
So
right.
That's why we're not filming this episode in person. It's just because I'm trying to make sure I'm on call. So this. Okay, so we'll go back. We jumped off skiing, but going back to when you grew up. So you went to Seton, then you went to Plattsburgh State. When did you start doing the appraising?
So,
like what age?
2007. It was like right in the beginning of 2007. So, let's see. I was born in 82, so 25. 25 years old.
Are you still the youngest appraiser right now?
I think so.
Because it's I find like real estate and appraisals go hand in hand, but the appraising industry, like real estate's an old industry. Like the average age, I think, is like right around 50, and then you talk about the appraisal, the average age is probably even higher than that.
Yeah,
and I find that it's one of those. God, what was there? Maybe a dozen appraisers in the area tops.
Residential, there's probably, I can only think of probably like 5 that I know do it full time, and then commercial, there's that
2.
do it full time. Myself, my father,
Don
does it full time, and he concentrates, I think, a lot in Lake Placid too. John Gerard does, I think, more residential than anything, though.
Yeah.
He's another one. But yeah, so there's not, and that's why it was crazy when I got in, because I was working at Eastern Adirondack Health Network in Sibley Hall, and it was part of some grant funding under the Alzheimer's disease centers kind of umbrella. And that was my first, I guess, real job. Sorry. My first real job coming out of school. And that just, it was a cool place to be, and the people were great, but it just wasn't working for me. And I sat down with my dad, and my parents had always done appraisals forever. My dad always did commercial, my mom always did residential. I never really, I guess, understood specifically what they did. I just knew my dad wrote these long ass reports that were just like
still long.
Yeah, and I'm like 100 pages. I'm like, I clept out of English just so I didn't have to write reports in college, because I'm like, I don't want to write that shit. Yeah. So I finally sat down with him, I think one day, and I was like, just kind of like not happy at my job, and he kind of explained exactly what he did day in, day out, and a lot of it, was in the field doing inspections, and then a lot of the report is kind of boilerplate, some stuff that's regulatory stuff that has to be in there. So it's not like you're writing 100 pages every report. You are, taking a lot of stuff that you've already used in the past, but there's still a good deal of writing to it. But it was different. So at that point, they were actually going to be increasing the standards, actually doubling the amount of class time and trainee time and hours you had to get. So I was able to get in, kind of grandfathered in the old system, or under the old regulations, I guess. Mm-hmm. And I was able to work with my dad, and he was my trainer. So was my mom as far as residential side. And I became a certified general real estate appraiser, which can do commercial, industrial, residential, everything. So that was pretty much, that was pretty cool, because a lot of people I was going to school with down in Albany, and it was just classes, a couple days a week, every other week. But they were like, yeah, we're struggling to find people to work with, because who wants to take on someone that eventually probably will become competition and train them? So anyway, long story short, I worked with my parents, and I got my full license, I think within 2 or 3 years, and worked with them. And then in 2011, the assessor job came up, and we were about to have our first kid, and it was, good benefits, and my wife Allie was home. She was going to be staying home. Wait, was she home? Yeah, she was going to be staying home with the new baby. So it worked out as far as, good benefits and all that. And I worked at the city for 3 years, and that was really interesting. It was a lot.
Made a lot of friends, I bet.
Honestly, most people understood kind of how it worked and the position that I was in, and that I was treating everyone fairly, and they respected that and were okay with it. Whether they are, behind my back saying something else, I don't know. But most people, I still, get along with that. I was talking with back then, in that field. But I learned a lot, and it was an incredible experience just to be under that pressure and to have that, bullseye on your head a lot, and never knowing what's going to walk in the door and who's going to be mad about what.
Yeah. How often do you guys reassess everything? Or did the city, at least from the city standpoint, because they just reassessed the values this year, or currently? So there's people in this city right now getting those nice little.
I don't think they did a full revaluation this year.
Not everybody, because I know there's a few that went up.
Yeah. So what they'll do is they'll periodically look from year to year and see if neighborhoods as a whole neighborhood sales are showing higher or lower than what the current assessed values are. And if they are, they'll increase or decrease. Excuse me, but like for the whole city has not been revalued since before I was there.
Oh, wow.
And what happens is the state has a cycle where you have to, well, you don't have to, but if the city or the municipality, whether it's a town or another, town of Plattsburgh or another town, they can opt in for this cyclical revaluation is what they call it. So where you will basically revalue every 4 years, and in the interim years during that cycle, you'll collect data and keep all the records up and keep things kind of where they need to be and work on the stuff that has to happen before the full reval so that you're ready to do it in the 4th year. But when the state reimbursement went down, they stopped, because you would get, if you did that every cycle, that reval, the state would pay you a certain dollar amount per parcel. So the city would get reimbursed, but state funding went way down, and they stopped doing it, so it didn't really make sense to be on that cycle. And it was hard. I mean, there's 5,000 parcels in the city, so it's hard to revalue all those as just a 2-man office, basically. It was myself and Kathy who was in the office too. But anyway, so that I revalued a lot of the commercial properties and the apartments, because those hadn't been done in many, many years and they needed to be updated. But residential was pretty good. I think things have increased since then. I don't think they've done a full reval though.
Yeah, I wasn't sure because mine. I had a place or my apartment in Rouse's Point went up. I know Peru went up last year for the most part. I know Shazy just got hit for the. I mean, whether it was a total one or not, but I've dealt with a lot of people, and pretty much every person that I went to go list their property, they all had a different value than what was showing on the county.
Really?
So they had just got it. I mean, mine in Rouse's Point went up 10,000. So it wasn't that big of a jump, but some of them were going up 20, 30,000 in value. And like I said, I think things catch up, especially with the price point right now with everything. Most of the values for at least home purchases have gone up in the last year by quite a bit. And I think that just naturally will translate eventually into the assessed value, which I think is fair. It keeps up with the market, and you know, you're getting taxed on roughly what it's worth, and that, you know, you can get away with a couple years, but eventually you'll catch up. But my thing with appraisals is the amount that it takes to become an appraiser. You know, I think eventually they're going to have to switch that guideline around, or like you said, the regulation to become, or qualification to become an appraiser. Because I mean, I'm coming from wrong favorite that's calling right now. Like to become a real estate agent. You know, you take a 75-hour course, you take a couple tests, and then I mean, it's not hard to get your license. I mean, once you get into real estate, it's hard to stay in real estate and succeed at it. But to become an appraiser, it's hard to get into. I think once you become an appraiser, you know, especially with the lack of appraisers out there, it's probably a pretty steady gig. But to become an appraiser, there's a big hump to get over that. Yeah. No, because there's not an intern, or is it an internship? What do they call it? An apprenticeship.
Basically, yeah. You're a trainee.
And you can't fully be licensed until you're done.
Right. You have your trainees license, trainees license, which you have to take a certain number of classes before you can get that. And then once you have that, then you have to get a certain number of hours of appraisals done, basically where you're working with someone that's training you. So those numbers all doubled back in, I think it was 2008, and I was working. I started 2007, basically in January. And if you started before the cutoff, which was I think January of 2008, you were in under the old numbers. But yeah, I don't know. I haven't looked to see what they are now, but I know that it was 7 months of class that I went to, and like I said, it was only a couple days. It was like a Thursday, Friday every other week, pretty much. I'd go down to Albany, to Manfred, and take the classes there. But then it was for getting your general license, it was like you had to have so many industrial appraisals, so many vacant lands, so many residential, so many apartments, so many office buildings, like all the different types of properties. Mm-hmm. And thank God my dad, had the experience and the business that he had, where he was getting all sorts of different stuff all the time. So I was able to get everything in working with him, and that was incredible. So I was very blessed that way, because I didn't have to really search for, the work. Yeah. I was gonna say, but now I don't know. I haven't looked at the numbers, but I know it's you have to at least, I think, have either an associate's or a bachelor's, which you didn't when I started, which I had one anyway. But yeah, you have to have some college, and then you've got to get, I think, double the hours that I had to get, and double the amount of class time too. So yeah, it is. And I was the youngest when I started, and I'm still the youngest now 10, 12 years later. So that's kind of scary because I think you're right. They're either going to have to relax the regulations or banks are going to start lobbying for things to change as far as having appraisals done.
Well, that's the thing. 'Cause I think at least all the appraisers I know, there's you and there's one other guy. I think Brendan's probably in his 40s.
Yep.
But other than that, I mean, it jumps up very quickly.
Jimmy Carpenter, he's probably in his
I don't know Jimmy.
late 40s.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
I mean, I know the name. I've never. That's the thing with appraisers. I probably couldn't pick half of them out of a lineup, but a lot of those they're going to age out. They're going to retire, and then
Right.
you're left with you talked about maybe right now having 10. It could easily be 3 or 4 in 10 years, and unless people. I know Maggie's somewhat younger, right? With Claremont.
Oh, is that?
I think she's under.
That's not John's wife.
I don't know, Morrison and Miller.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah,
Might be.
She's done a few, but I think
Okay.
she's newer. I think coming in, so she's only been around for probably a year or two. But
Yeah.
I'm
Maybe there's
assuming
a younger one out there that I
assuming
don't know.
I don't know if she's younger than you. She's probably maybe similar or I don't know. I haven't seen her, so I don't want to say how old she may or may not be. But yeah, like you said, the earliest you could probably become a full-on appraiser is probably 25. If you talk about the bachelor degree and then all the training, or like a realtor, you can start at 18. I mean, I had my license I was 20, turning 21. So I had 5 or 6 years in the business at that point. So that's quite a bit, from a difference of potentially 7 years between the two professions.
Right.
We'll get into more fun stuff than work talk. That's it. That's our work talk for the day. So we mentioned before, Derek was the one that actually married us, so he was the justice of the peace. You've done how many now? 3?
3 weddings, yeah.
So
I've married 3 people.
3 people.
Well, 6 people.
Both siblings, and then
But my brother, yep.
Jess and Jay,
then
right?
Jess and Jay, yep. And
they were
then you guys.
They were the original.
Jess and Jay were the original. Yeah, that was
So tell us the story, because I want to know how you became a JOP, and then and then I guess your experience now so far, and how you've set up, because you've done GOPing, I don't know, or JOPing. You've done it solo, you've done it on a beach, you've done it in a lodge, you've done it in a
that's
museum.
true. I have been all over the place.
You've done it in many different settings. You've got a couple bobbleheads out of it too.
Yeah, I know. They're awesome. So let's see. So Jess and Jay are good buddies. They got engaged, and this was they got married in 2011, I think, 12, somewhere around there. But so they got engaged, and they invited us over for like just like a breakfast brunch, just to like celebrate it. And anyway, long story short, they were like, we're gonna set the date and get married and do all that stuff. And I said, I'll marry you guys if you want. And I was totally just joking. Like, I think I had heard about someone doing that in the past, and at that time it was kind of a new thing, people being able to get their marriage license online or whatever. So I was joking about it. So anyway, didn't think anything of it. Probably a couple weeks later, they called me up and like, so were you serious about that, marrying us? And I'm like, what? I don't even remember saying that. I was kind of like, okay, let me check into it. And I looked into it, and lo and behold, you can get ordained online with a online marriage church. It's an online church. It's weird. It's so easy. It's almost like, this is kind of ridiculous, but
as long as you pay the fee, right?
You pay the fee. You get your license, and it gets sent to you. I guess it's all on how serious you take yourself and or how seriously you take the process
part,
and the ceremony. But they actually, it was American Marriage Ministries, and they give you a lot of good resources. So I used a lot of that stuff for Jess and Jay's wedding, and they kind of tweaked a few things and wanted a few things added in. And each couple has kind of wanted a little bit of a different thing, which has been cool. But everyone's wanted like a little bit of like story time. So I've gotten to like do a little bit of a roast, kind of tell some stories, and that's fun. And like, I think people like that in their wedding. So yeah, that was Jess and Jay's. And then you guys got married, and I did yours on the beach, which was which was really awesome. It was really hot, but it was awesome. And then my brother and his wife just this past October. Yeah, that was at a museum.
Yeah,
like an old
that
castle.
was cool. That was kind of cool.
It was an old jail. Like,
was it
old like stone?
It was really nice.
Jail. But it was turned into a museum.
Yeah, the reception venue was super nice with all the glass and all the lights and stuff.
Yeah, and you could still see out. Yeah, and that was with my brother's wife Tanya, her brother, and I both co-officiated the wedding, and that was the first time doing a co-officiant, and that was interesting.
Was that Ben, right? Was
Ben?
Was that Ben's first time?
Ben's first, yeah.
Yeah, that was good. You guys did well, because I think Ben was he had a similar approach to it that you did. So it was kind of like some stories, and
he had a good humor. Yeah. Aaron and Tanya had probably 3 pages of bullet points before we even had our first meeting about like phone meeting. That's my brother, yeah. And Tanya's that way too. But it was funny because I was like, okay, I don't have any work to do. This is pretty easy. I just kind of follow what they want and fill in the blanks. And that was a different one. But it's funny because everyone's had a little bit of a different spin on it.
I think we were different. I think we just said do whatever. I don't even know if we gave.
Yeah, you guys were hard because it was like, well, what do you guys want? Is this? Yeah, whatever. Okay, well, does this work? Yeah, whatever. And then I'm like,
make it quick.
Am I doing it right or not? I don't know.
No, it was good.
No feedback.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of feedback. We just trusted you in your one time before that you were going to pull it off. So, and then we ended up giving you. We gave you the bobblehead, right? And then Aaron was the other one that gave you.
Yeah,
it? Okay.
You guys gave me the bobblehead with the
priest.
I've got JOP
on the beach.
Yeah, on the beach with the pants rolled up, and I still. Actually, Madeline was in my office looking at it the other day, and she goes, "You've still got sand in your teeth," because it fell over in the sand, and there's sand stuck in my teeth in the bobblehead. And then my brother got me it's more of the traditional priest garb, where I've got the black robe and the collar, and it's the Guy Le Clergy.
I knew it was something with Guy. Where did the Guy start?
So actually, just down the street at the Turtle. So, have you ever told you this story?
No, I now call you guys Guy, but I just hijacked it. I mean, you guys were the original ones that said
it. It's we've hijacked it from someone else, so it's not even really it's
not authentic.
What is it? It's authenticity is concealing your source.
Yeah, that's it.
So it was Guy is the French pronunciation of Guy, the name, the formal name Guy. But what was it? Me and my brother used to work at the Turtle. The Naked Turtle, just down the street from where this podcast is taking place. And there's, I don't know if it's still there, but in the outside bar, there's a little plaque, like a little mini plaque, a seat that this guy, or Guy, used to sit at. And it was like, and this was back in like 2000 to 2005 when I worked there. And my brother was there for like 3 or 4 years before that. But I don't know, some of the old school bartenders that had been there then, this guy, I don't even know, he must have been a regular for so long that they made him a plaque. Yeah. And it had this really cool little saying or rhyme, and it had his name, Guy, in it. I don't know if his name was Guy or if they just called him the Bar Guy. And then it turned into Bar Guy. And so then me and Aaron just started referring to each other as Guy, because we like to mess around with French and Franglais, and our heritage, my mom's side is French, so when we go to family events, everyone's speaking French, and we just laugh and try to kind of chime in once in a while. But anyway, so we went on with that Guy thing, and that's been almost 20 years now. So then that just morphed into, we call each other Guy, and then we Guy Le Guy, and just whatever minimal French we can muster up. And we just
accent aigu.
Yeah, throw a Guy in there with
on the Guy.
Accent aigu or accent grave, and then it just makes each other laugh. And then you as the brother-in-law, of course, had to jump in on that, because that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know. I just started calling you guys that one day, so
it works now. It works. You're one of the brothers.
Aaron actually now, anytime he texts me, it's always Guy. Same thing. Like I can go through my text right now, and everyone's like, "Hey Guy, what's?" And actually, Aaron doesn't say like Guy French. He says Guy like annoying, like, "Hey Guy." Like it's like more of like a North Country hick sound than actually like a French.
Oh, I've never listened for that.
If you really listen to him, he always it's like you think like there's a different way of saying like Guy, like it would be but he says it kind of like very abruptly and kind of with like a little bit of a hick at the end of it. So
that's a weird mix.
Very weird, but I think it's good. So Aaron's just he's like he just says it loud, like it's
yeah. And he just doesn't.
A gee.
Yeah, that is how he says it. You're right.
So I think it's turned more into like a Wiggletown gee than a French Canadian gee. So, but yeah, so that's great. Now the Turtle, you had a lot of people that work there, right?
Like there was like 100 employees when I was working there.
Because every time I've met you and you've talked to somebody, you're like, yeah, they worked at the Turtle. And I'm like, I know you worked at the Turtle for probably, 5 years? 4 or 5 years?
5 summers, yeah.
So you go through a few people, but it was like, it almost seemed like everybody that you knew back then worked at the Turtle, which I'm sure there's a bunch of people that work at the Turtle now. Now that I'm a little bit closer, I'm sure we'll go visit it, here and there.
Right.
It's that time of the year now. It's open, right?
They are open, yeah.
I think there's a little get together next week at some date, but I'll probably won't. I said I was going, but I know I'm not going to be going. So for about a week, I'm going to be all those things I RSVP to are going to be completely
paternity leave.
Yes, paternity leave. So what's your favorite Turtle stories?
Well, that's where me and Al.
I've heard about the Turtle piss, and then anything.
Yeah, actually, it's funny. That's where me and Allie met. So I'll tell that one, but I want to tell the one about turtle piss and Glass Onion because we were just watching Glass Onion last weekend.
Oh yeah, we can get to that after.
But no, it was funny because Allie worked. She started, I think, a summer or two after I started, and I was a bartender, and she was a waitress. And I remember she walked up because they would get drinks from the bartenders for their tables, so she'd come up to the server station, and one time she came up, and I had never even met her or talked to her at the restaurant, but I knew she was new. And anyway, she had a name tag and it said Allie, A-L-I. And I said, "What's up, Muhammad?" And she just looked at me and she just kind of smirked and like shook her head and then walked off. Muhammad Ali. And I'm like, "What's up, Muhammad?" She didn't think it was funny. So that was my first interaction with her. Of course, that was a great.
So it's gotten better over the
one-liner.
years.
Yeah. Well, I didn't have to get much better after that, but no, we actually we didn't date for. If we met 2001, 2002, we didn't date until 2006. We were just friends, and it was just.
Oh, she's still in high school?
Nope, I'm not that bad. She was.
Did she just get it? Well,
She was in college, and I was in college. Yeah.
So you guys you were just in college. So
yeah, she was probably she's probably a sophomore. Probably a sophomore, and I was probably junior, senior. I forget. Maybe it was 2002 or 3. But so actually we had a lot of friends that all worked there. Some were bartenders, some were waiters, waitresses, and and she was just like one of the guys hanging out with all of us, partying all the time. And I mean, it was just like, it was summer. All we had to do was be at work at a certain time.
At like 5 at night.
Yeah. So, I mean, you could just drink all night and sleep all day pretty much until you had to go into work. And it was really just Thursday, Friday,
rinse, repeat.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights. And then it was like the weekend started Sunday. Sunday, Chug-a-Mug was the big weekend night for us on Mondays. And it was crazy.
Chug-a-Mug was Mondays back then too, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that was when they used to be $1.50 or $2 for a Chug-Mug. Now I think the mugs have gotten smaller and they've gone up in price. I haven't been.
It's like the newspaper, right? It's
just yeah, that's true. But so then we would just hang out. It was a blast. Like there was just a lot of my college and high school friends worked there, like Mockery and Greg. Allie was there. And then we lived with a lot of those same people, so we were just crazy. But it was good times because there was I think it was busier back then, and I don't just say that because it was better back then. No, I think it was actually busier. I think they've struggled a bit, but I haven't been down there or been in it as much, so I really can't tell. But just from what I've heard, but that was good times. But it was funny because the people that were there then were like, it used to be so much better back when I was here 5 years ago, So
it's kind of like high school sports now. When you hear you see the parents on the sideline and the dads will be like, I did this or I did that, or it was harder or colder or tougher.
Right.
Both sides of the field were uphill. It's like one of those things.
To walk uphill to school in the snow both ways.
Both ways, yeah. Just tried to figure that one out, but the dads did it back then, so
took the wrong route.
It was a tougher time, tougher life. But I think. I remember going to the Turtle. I never really worked there or did anything, but we'd go there here and there. But it wasn't. I don't remember being like crazy, but they always had music and stuff, and they still do. It's only open. It's a short season. But I always like it. Nowadays it's nice to go down there versus go sit and like I love all of Ridley's and stuff. It's a great bar, but it's not. In the summer you want to be outside.
In the summer, yeah, and you can sit out on the decks at the Turtle, and all the boaters are there with the marina. But yeah, like I was saying, like Glass Onion, they were like the biggest Turtle band, really. They would play the Friday, Saturday nights, and those were always our biggest weekend, usually. And then the other one was the Irish band. They used to come down.
Glengarry Boys.
They
were good.
That was a lot of fun.
They're still around.
I don't know. I think so, but I haven't seen them.
I think every year they do at least one show at Ridley's.
Okay.
But I haven't seen them since I was a kid, but they were good.
Matt's done a good job of getting bands, and he's done a lot of blues and stuff at Olive Ridley's. But so we got to know Glass Onion, and that was a ton of fun. But I remember, I think it was the last night I worked there. We would imbibe in a few shots with clientele that wanted to buy us shots or just have one ourselves, whatever. And I hope Matt's not listening, but whatever.
Friend of the podcast.
Water under the bridge.
We're down the hole.
But, yeah, no, we had a lot of fun. I remember that. Yeah, so Glass Onion was playing. It was like to wrap up the season, and Jesus, yeah, we got up on the bar and we were doing turtle piss ourselves. Which turtle piss?
Yeah, back up. Tell me.
It's basically you take whatever clear liquor in the well that you could find. That's maybe 2/3 of an empty bottle, whether it's rum, vodka, tequila, or gin. Hopefully not tequila or gin. And you just then put this melon liqueur and sour mix in it, and you just fill the bottle up. And then you get the good-looking waitresses up on the bar, and they pour shots of this green turtle piss mixture into people's mouths right at the bar. So the last night, I think I got up and did that. And then me and one of the other bartenders were behind. We were on the stage with the band, taking drumsticks out of Brad's kit while he's playing, and we're like hitting cymbals and just messing around, and like they're all just like, "You guys are idiots, but we're gonna allow it tonight." And
Brad probably got a kick out of that.
Yeah, I think to a certain extent, but I think I fell asleep in the car before the end of the shift, and that was the last night, which it probably would have been anyway. So it's a good thing that I ended it that way.
That's it. Signing off. We went out. What was it? Friday night, which I think for us nowadays that's kind of like a very spur of the moment thing. It was playing
Friday night. I fall asleep earlier than the rest of the week usually.
Yeah, and we ended up going out to Ridley's. I actually had a ton of fun because I saw a lot of people. A lot of people were out. It was nice to kind of go mingle.
Everybody.
And I'm not there that often, I swear. So it's but we ended up going, and they played a Tragically Hip cover concert, which I thought was great.
That was pretty awesome.
And I've actually played, what's today? Tuesday. I've had basically Hip playlists nonstop since
really?
Friday. So I've listened to we kind of around the house over the weekend, working, doing things here and there. I had them playing, and of course, obviously Gina likes them, so that's good. And we ended up, I've actually listened to them quite a bit in the car, just working around here. Which usually I'm listening to like podcasts. I've been just listening over and over again.
Yeah,
I get in spurts. Like I'll get in like a Dave spur. I'll get into like a Dispatch spurt where I'll listen to them for a week or 2 weeks nonstop over and over again, and it just kind of ebbs and flows. Sometimes Grateful Dead will get in there, and then I just kind of get into. But so far this week has been the Hip. But I thought they did. Brad showed us the playlist prior, and I was telling you they had 34 songs, and he said they actually know 39, but they cut 5 of them out. Which we were there for a solid hour and a half of music, and they were just getting done. From my memory of what he showed me was the first row of songs, so they had just as many to play on the back end.
They were probably, I'd say, no more than 12 or 15 songs, I think, when we left, and that was
about probably an hour and a half,
11:30.
hour and 15. Yeah,
They start at 9:30.
yeah, so maybe even longer. And but they played a lot of songs.
That was pretty cool because I've never seen them. I've never seen them do just a set of all. I mean, the whole night of all just T-Hip. I mean, I remember when again working at the Turtle, when they'd play a T-Hip song, I'm like, this is awesome because they sound just like it, and no one else really played T-Hip. And it's funny because around here, most people know T-Hip, but if you go anywhere south in the United States, even down to Albany, like no one knows who the hell you're talking about. And it's almost like we have this kind of like
French Canadian.
Yeah, we've got this gem that we know about, and it's kind of like just a secret unto ourselves.
It's like Canada, New York. I bet you there's some people up in like Minnesota and stuff that may know of them.
Along the entire northern border of the U.S.
Yeah.
It's like, so you go over to like Niagara Falls in Buffalo. There's a huge T-Hip following over there. So yeah, I think it makes sense geographically. Like they just kind of infiltrated kind of the northern United States, but never really got too far down. I actually read a good book that they put out, The Never Ending Present. Yeah. It was done I think it was just after Gordy died, or maybe it was while he was sick. But that was a really interesting book because it was cool too. It wasn't chronological, and it says in the beginning of the book you can skip around each chapter. Like what they do is they would actually the albums were chronological, so they would start like chapter 1 as their first album, then the next chapter was just a random kind of broader spectrum. I guess idea or can't even think of the word, but had something to do with the band. Like they would talk about like their roadie, like their number one roadie who'd been with them forever. Like did a whole chapter on him.
Yeah,
he's wearing the cowboy hat, and or they'd talk about how, like they actually talked a lot about how the where they caught on in the United States and where they didn't have success and kind of why and all. So it was really cool because they went in depth on each album and talked about every song and all that, but then they talked about all these different ideas, and that's not the right word, but whatever. Each chapter was kind of, and you could jump all around, but it was really interesting. But yeah, that's probably my favorite band of all time, my number one go-to. Yeah.
How many times have you seen them?
I lost track, I think, and I'd have to go back and count, but it's between 10 and 15 times I saw them.
What was the most local concert?
The most local was, that's a good question, Burlington, I think. Yeah. Burlington at Memorial Auditorium.
And then you saw them in, was it Ottawa? Was that the second to last show?
Second to last show of their,
farewell
their
tour.
Final tour, yeah. That was cool because I wasn't up on their stuff as much at that point, and Jim, my brother-in-law, and Garrett, his son, Garrett's really into him, and they were following everything, and they bought tickets, and they called me when they were buying them. Like, you want to
go too?
Kevin, yeah, but him and his wife and another group of people got tickets separately, but we saw them as soon as we got there, just by chance in the beer line. So
that's funny. Kevin in the beer line.
I know. But so yeah, I thank Jim and Garrett for getting the tickets because I don't think I would have even thought to do it. Like I was following everything that was happening, but I don't know why I wasn't. I mean, back in the day, like in college, I would have had like 4 computers set up and 2 phones, and I would have been calling and trying to get tickets, and then make sure I got enough tickets for all the friends. And but yeah, I used to be They would usually play Montreal, Burlington, Albany. Sometimes Northern Lights down in Albany or Clifton Park. So I would always, whenever they went on tour, I'd always hit them up somewhere, wherever they were.
I think Gina said she saw them at Bolton Valley.
Yes, that was a really cool. Guster opened for them, which, do you know Guster?
I do, yeah. I've never seen them play live, but I know who they are.
They were, I mean, they're
a couple songs I know. But.
Yeah, they're a great headline band, but they were opening for T-Hip, and it was right on the bottom of the ski slope, and so kind of it was like a lawn basically that was flat right near the stage, and then it started to gradually incline. So even if you were in the back, you still had a great seat.
Natural amphitheater.
Yeah, exactly. And Gordy was talking about skiing through. I mean, mixing in with all the songs and talking about the angle of your feet and all. And he just throws in stuff
ad-libbing.
Yeah, exactly. But that was a really cool show. The first show I ever saw was, I think it was the first concert I ever went to. My brother brought me, and it was in Sugarbush. I think it was another ski resort, and it was a summer, and it was on the side of the ski slope, and that was pretty awesome. It was the first concert ever, and really the first T-Hip show too. But that was lots of fun. But I would say T-Hip. I mean, I can put them on anytime, and I'm good to go.
Yeah, they're like a crowd pleaser. I remember listening to them growing up. My uncle, I think I was telling you this, there was always music on. Always music at his house. And my uncle is a deadhead through and through. I mean,
this is before Spotify and Apple Music and all that stuff.
Yes.
So he had to have
We're talking
the
cassettes,
CDs or cassettes. Yeah.
Yes. There was always music at his house.
What the hell are those things?
Most notably was, you can think of really anything, but there's T-Hip. There was always Grateful Dead. There was probably some Fish. I don't remember Fish as much, but it was a lot of like just jam band kind of things. And, we'd be playing every Thursday. They'd have volleyball at the house. And in the summers, there was always music there. And I just remember as a kid, you just grew up and you're kind of always walking around. And I was, probably Connor's age, maybe a little older. And we, I'd hang out with my cousin. But there was always music playing. And I mean, the ones I remember, vividly is that's why I think are my favorites. There's obviously other songs, but like New Orleans is Sinking and Blow It High Dough, those songs were always, I just remember that because they're a little bit more rock and loud, and you kind of you can really pick up on them. But I mean, now when Grateful Dead got the Sirius channel, which was, I don't know how old that is, but I remember, I mean, you would like just walk into the house, like it could be like middle of the day, like go and drop something off, you'd open the door, go leave it on the kitchen table. And he's got this old TV that's hanging up over the fridge that I guarantee is probably still there. And you could just see the name, like 1978, like I said, at the San Francisco Fillmore, Christmas Eve or something like that, or New Year's Eve. And we would, there was always some kind of like spacey jam band going on. So that's kind of how I think fell into that kind of music. And one of my favorite bands, Strange Folk?
Yeah.
They're one of my all-time favorite bands, and they're just a little local band. I think that started in Burlington, and I've seen them a few times, but like their music, same thing. It's just, and the lead singer just always had just a very smooth voice, and
I couldn't name a song. I don't know.
Oh,
maybe
really?
if I heard it on the radio, but
I got a bunch on my phone, but
yeah.
You would, I don't know how much they hit the radio waves, but there was, I had a couple CDs of theirs that I would just play nonstop as a kid. And again, that's kind of the stuff, like I'll throw their music on just like a shuffle, and pat, they're just, it's just kind of, now it's a lot of background music, but they just had that kind of like Northeast hippie flair to music,
like Fish, right? I mean,
not as jammy, but the same idea. Like I put Fish on, and Fish is another one I can just put on, listen to a lot of their music. And
I've just recently, I remember I had the album Hoist, that one with
For Fish?
Yeah, it's on the cover is a horse being hoisted up. A horse being hoisted. Is that what
I'm sure I do. I'd have to.
It's got I think it's got Fee on it and Bounce Around the Room. So some of the bigger ones.
That's my favorite song.
But that album, I remember. I don't know why I got it. Do you remember when Peacock Music was open?
Yeah, on
that might be just on the cusp of when you were.
No, he was on Margaret Street, right?
Smithfield. He did start out, I think, down on Bridge Street, actually, near like the Co-op, I feel like. But then he moved up to Smithfield, where like the liquor store is now, or where Verizon is, or AT&T, whatever the store is there.
Okay,
in the Blockbuster Plaza, that's where it used to be.
Probably not, because I'm thinking of the one. Who was the one on Margaret Street? The music store there.
Bob's Music. Yeah, that was.
Was
Bob's.
that Bob's?
Yeah.
Now they're over by Play It Again.
Yep.
Okay. Same. Okay. So then, no, I'm thinking.
But Peacock, it's funny because just since college, which for me was about 20 years ago, 19 years ago, music has changed so much. I remember I used to have the big, huge binder with all the CDs, and like I would just, everything was in order of band names. So
I think we borrowed that one day in a car ride.
Yeah. That was like my go. It was in my car everywhere I went. I always had a CD player. But like now, I mean, you can just, with Spotify, Apple Music, Pandora, everything. I mean, you can just pick what you want and then just play it, or just go on YouTube and pick it. But it's amazing now, because like when I sit and work at my computer most days, like I can just pick what I want and put it on, and I'm listening to it. So like even more so than when I was growing up, like music is a bigger part of my life now. And like just with the phone, and we get one of those little JBL jam boxes, whatever. Yep. And then so in the morning I'm putting music on, the kids are, so I'm introducing them to different stuff, which is kind of cool. And then like Connor will start singing like an 80s song, like a Phil Collins song or something, like what's the one that I just had him,
what's the one with the drums
in the air tonight?
Yeah, that's it. Everybody knows the drum solo in that song.
Yeah. But so it's funny because like they don't necessarily, well, they think anything that's not pop is country. And he's like, "This is country, turn out." I'm like, "It's not country. It
sounds like it's
Prince." Yeah. What are you talking about?
Purple Rain.
Yeah. But the Peacock music, that was the place. I remember, man, I sound so old, but like did you ever watch Empire Records or like any of those like kind of cult hits back in the day?
No.
Like people would just literally go there, and you could just hang out for an hour and like talk music, or just sort through all the different, CDs they had. But they would have like the rare stuff that you couldn't, there was no YouTube, you couldn't download it. And unless the band put out and recorded a live album or a bootleg, like someone recorded it with, like, my brother used to go and he'd take those little mini recorders, the dictating ones. And he would record whatever show he went to, and then he'd try to convert it to like a bigger cassette tape, and it was just always awful sound, but it was like, oh my God, you got to hear it. And suddenly you had like this bootlegged album. But that's what Peacock would sell some of those. So I remember, and it's funny now because I sit there and I'm like, I can just go on YouTube, and if I'm like, just the other day I was like, there was a T-Hip show that I'd never heard because it was never put out on a live album or even a bootleg, but it was on their YouTube channel, and it was the entire show. I'm like, oh, it's really, and like every show could be, even if one song's just a little bit different or a song they don't normally play, like it changes, it makes the whole difference for that listening.
I think there's a website called, I think it's archive.org.
Yeah.
And if you go there, you can go, and it's a lot of this, like this type of music. You can go find concerts. Like I went to a couple concerts. I'm like, I remember going to, you type in the artist, you type in roughly like the year and location, and it pops up, and all of a sudden, like, holy crap, their whole concert that I went to is there.
Really?
You can download it. And it's one where it's kind of like a file sharing thing, but you go on Archive and you can pick a bunch of shows, and it's like these, like I've done it for Dispatch, I did it for Jack Johnson, I did it for Dave. So there's like shows that you go see, and then all of a sudden you pull them up. Grateful Dead, Fish, the Strange Folk one that I told you about, you can actually download. When I went and saw them, I think it was like 1998 Mears Cup. They played right out over here, right out front.
Really?
Right at the base of the monument. And I believe it's on there as Plattsburgh, New York. And they have, I think Strange Folk has a couple from like the Monopole. Like you can find like really old shows. You can find Fish probably at Nectar. I mean, you can find all these really old concerts, and you're like, holy crap! Like they
that's pretty
cool.
One,
they exist, but you can actually hear the show in its entirety because someone taped it back then, uploaded it, and the sound quality is pretty good, and people rate it obviously if it's good or bad. Yeah. But I believe it's archive.org, and I've gone on for plenty of shows.
All right, I gotta check that out.
Yeah, just to listen. I mean, I'll pop it on, and I'm working, whatever, and you're listening to this old show from 25 years ago, or 20 years ago. But I was a kid. I'm like, I wonder what songs they played when I was 8 years old watching them at Mayor's Cup. And then sure enough, it's like, holy crap, this was an awesome concert. But I was too young at the time to really appreciate it. But yeah, I mean, if anybody's out there, archive.org. If you like kind of like the jammy, I'm sure they have other stuff on there, but big Grateful Dead, obviously, like any of those things that you would expect, big listener base to want to download.
I just was listening to the Dave show from SPAC this past summer. That was the simulcast or whatever online.
Were you watching it?
Yeah, I was there at SPAC,
but
I watched it on YouTube, and I was just listening to it while I was working.
Did you watch the whole thing? Go back and listen to Two Step when they ended on Two Step.
Yeah,
that is one of the greatest Two Steps I've ever heard. And I just remember the whole thing. If you go back, and I think it was like an 18-minute song. I was talking actually on the podcast with Ryan Lee about it. Carter, about 2/3 of the way through that song, just goes on like a tear.
Yeah,
and the funny thing is, like, I think he's approaching 60.
Really?
He's fairly old because I think Dave's early 50s and Carter was one of the oldest ones. Carter's old. He's probably like late 50s, early 60s.
Dave was in his 20s, I think, in the early 90s.
Yeah.
I think the first album was 92. I looked that up one time after one of the shows or something. So yeah, if that's almost 30 years. So yeah, he's got to be almost 50, if not.
And just watch Carter, like, and it's funny, like you see him go up on the stage and he's like climbing the steps and he's like hopping up the steps and he gets up and we were talking. I don't think there's a person in life that loves their job more than that guy.
He's always smiling.
He's by far my favorite guy in the band.
It's awesome.
But if you can, I mean, go back and like really just like watch that whole thing of Two Step. That to me is one of the greatest two steps ever, and I think just because Carter's solo is amazing on it, and they kind of always like they just keep repeating the kind of the riff or the hook or whatever, and then they'll end up improvising and slow it down and speed it up, and then and the timing of those guys. I remember it's kind of a fair. I got it on my phone, but when they played at Piedmont Park or whatever, I think it's in Atlanta. There's one section where they all stop. And I don't know if you've ever seen it, like, and I remember it used to be on was it Palladia? It was like a music station.
Yeah.
And they actually filmed the concert. And I remember at one point they all stopped, and it was almost like they froze. And they were all on stage, and they were just nobody was playing, and they all just kind of stopped on cue.
Yep.
And it was just like dragged out, and then all of a sudden they'd be like toot 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 toot, and they'd stop. And like everybody was like, crowd was going nuts because they were. But it was so funny. Like I don't know. They obviously have some type of code to know when to play.
Yeah.
But they were paused for me like a solid like 30 seconds. The crowd's roaring, and then the lights and everything would and they would all be on cue. I'm like, how did they know when to play? Are they all just kind of counting in their head, like, because it must be on like a certain beat, you know what I mean? And like, okay, we're gonna do like 6 measures and then play again. I don't know what they were doing, but
because that was making me think of, we went to go see him in Montreal, and like that was a very, compared to SPAC and like a lot of their bigger outdoor concerts, like I mean that was in December, I think. That was a much more kind of not reserved, but it was a more intimate setting and kind of a not a quieter night. That's not the way to explain it either. But it was just the seats we had, both of us had, were incredible, and we sat there, and that was like the best part for me, was just watching them interact with each other on the stage, because it was like exactly what you're saying. Like I'm looking for, like, are they making eye contact and making cues, or like is Carter, because he's the one keeping tempo most as percussion, so you think he's making a cue or something, but it's almost like I don't even know if I could see any cue that they're giving each other. They're so well oiled together that they know when they're gonna.
They're very in tune, and I've gone to a lot of shows and you see stuff, and I don't know music that well. I mean, someone that's very into music would have a better idea, but like, you just watch those guys and they just connect, and it's almost they've been doing it for so long. But the thing is, the saxophone player's been playing for 10 years now. The keyboardist was brand new.
That was his first tour.
Yeah. Besides, Rashawn too on the trumpet. I mean, he's he's been doing it a long time now. But like, you have your main guys that formed, and then
it was Carter and Dave, and then wasn't it Rashawn Ross was?
No, he wasn't. No, it was Leroy,
the guy that he died, right?
Yep, Leroy, Stefan, Carter, Dave, and then Boyd came in as within the first year or two.
Yeah.
And then Tim had always played with them. He just was never really part of the band. He was always like Tim and Friends, and he had another band back in the day.
Yeah.
But I mean, and then they always had a keyboardist. I think was it Butch Taylor, I think, was a keyboardist for the longest time.
Yeah.
And
he might have been.
And then he left, but then they've had a couple keyboards come in. The new guy's pretty good though, because he does some vocals and he does Buddy. Is it Buddy?
Buddy Miller.
Yeah, he's pretty good. But the trumpet and the saxophone guys are fairly. I mean, the
sax guy is Jeff
Coffin.
And he came from Bella Fleck, which I don't even
know that band.
I Wikipedia'd them after, and I was like, what? So Bella Fleck, I think that's the name of the band. They opened for Dave on a number of tours, or maybe just one tour, and so they knew the band well. So when their sax player was Leroy, the sax player that died. Yeah, they Jeff came over and became part of Dave Matthews Band. So yeah, that was. But yeah, that it's funny because like I think back to my CD catalog, and binder, and I had a lot of Dave, a lot of Pearl Jam, a lot of T-Hip. T-Hip was the biggest
collection.
Yes, and I had seen Dave back in college a couple times, and I liked some of the songs. I mean, obviously they were good songs, and I was into them, but it wasn't to the level of like T-Hip or Pearl Jam back then. And it's weird because one of our friends, Jess and Pavel, invited us to SPAC, and that's when I was like, oh, I haven't seen them in like 20 years, and I was like blown away. And it was like this reemergence of like, oh my God, these guys. And then they've done probably 4 or 5 albums since I last saw them, and 20 years ago, whatever, and so many more songs that are great songs that are maybe not as popular on the radio ever, but they're some of their best like concert songs that everyone wants to hear. And I was just blown away, like just at SPAC, like how into it like they are, and like they just love playing up there. And then like Montreal, like you could just tell they were like it was almost like there wasn't a bunch of people there watching them. There was no crowd. They were just up there jamming to have fun with each other. Yeah. So that was like pretty cool to see that, because it was like they really enjoy what they're doing, or at least they give off that. Yeah, because I've seen them at both, like SPAC and Montreal. And SPAC, to me, middle of the summer, they always play like May, June, July. And I think they're playing July this year, and it's 12th.
Is that what it is?
11th and 12th that weekend. I know. I actually just looked at tickets before I came over. I don't know. Maybe. The cheapest ticket's like $200.
Oh, you're in the seats, you mean?
Yeah, not in the lawn.
I've actually never seen them in the seats at SPAC.
I've
only seen them in the lawn.
We saw Coldplay in the seats, first time being in seats, and I haven't gone back to the lawn since.
Really? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I like the grungy nature of. I don't know. Actually, if you're drunk enough or high enough, it doesn't matter. We went and saw. There was one year we saw a bunch of concerts. And actually, I'll complete my Dave thought, then I'll go into that. So seeing Dave at SPAC is totally different than Montreal.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's more of an intimate setting because there's only so many people, but you feel closer. Like our seats, you're not really going to get that close to them because SPAC, sometimes you can't even see them because of the way it's set up. So you're there more for the music and the secondhand, smells. So, I mean, it's... but there was one year, I think it was 15, I think it was the first year, like full year me and Gina were together. I remember we saw so many concerts that year, but one day we went, I think it was right before 4th of July. We ended up seeing Imagine Dragons up in Montreal, which was a very good concert. They were excellent. This was like right as they were kind of, I say hitting their height. I haven't followed them much in the last couple of years, but then the next day we went with, I don't know if Jess and Jay went, with Josh, Katie,
was it
Miss
Rock?
Lee? Yeah, we went.
Miss Lee.
Did you go?
No, but I heard about it.
We went to watch Kid Rock. Opening band Foreigner and Wild. Like it was just
makes no sense. Those two combined.
No, and it was not my favorite concert, but it was like $20. He sat in the lawn. We went. We tailgated. We did the whole thing, and it was fun. I mean, I think Jake and Becky were there, and it was.
You can't go wrong in the summer at SPAC.
No, it's live music, and I thought it was. It was okay. It was better than not doing anything that night. But it wasn't. Like I said, Dave at SPAC is just to me another animal. They sound better. Just outside. I think it's just you're outside in summer sun versus inside the Bell Center in the middle of December.
Yeah, I know it's a different feeling.
But we saw Coldplay. Same thing. We saw Coldplay 3 times in a week, but we saw them at Foxborough, which was a better setup because you could fit probably 3 times as many people at Foxborough than you could at the Bell Center. But then we went to watch them at Bell Center. It felt way more intimate. And then we ended up getting the second night after you guys went up. We ended up getting the front row seats.
Awesome. The seats can make a shitty concert the greatest concert you've ever been to.
We saw them 3 times and they were good, but there's no way to top that. And my thing is, if you I've sat front row at concerts only a couple times. Dispatch back whenever I saw them last summer, it was general admission at Shelburne.
Oh, really?
And this year I'm going in July to see them out in Portland, Maine. Same thing, at like a general admission with a couple friends, and we ended up. I literally sat at the Dispatch concert. I used the speaker as my basically my cup holders. So we had beer, and I was just putting them on. I got yelled at a bunch of times not to use the speakers but that's, I mean, that's stage. I put my hand down and touch
awesome.
the stage, and that's never happened before because I saw them in TD Garden. I was like in the nosebleeds. So like to see them like standing here and they're like where the coat rack is, and I'm like watching, Chad play, and I'm like, holy crap, like what, and like $50. And I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
So, but I think that if you sit front row, I never thought it'd be a big deal, but you're so engulfed like in the sound and the lights and everything that it's just crazy.
I remembered I got tickets for everybody, like 8 of us, for T-Hip down in Albany. And this was when I was in college. And same thing, I got online or whatever it was on the phone, and I got like literally like first or second row at this theater. I forget which theater it is down right in Albany. But
the Palace?
It might have been. Yeah, that might have been it. Anyway, so I had bought these months in advance, and this was like, I shit my pants. Like, this is like the greatest thing ever. I got front row, pretty much. This is going to be amazing. And anyway, ended up, it was freshman year of college. I was pledging fraternity, and our induction night happened to be the night of the concert, and I couldn't freaking go to the concert. All my friends went without me, and I was stuck getting into my fraternity, which was awesome. But
they were in the front row too.
Yeah, and they said, "Derek, you missed a great show." I'm like, I had to do this, so it's all right. It all worked out. But yeah, that's one thing. I'm like, God damn it, I wish I would have been at that show. But probably one of the I'm trying to think the closest I've ever been for a show like that, something like that, and I can't remember. But one of the best shows I've ever seen was Tom Petty at SPAC. And that was, they played for like 3 hours, and just, again, you could just tell he was just like drinking it in while I was up there. He was just like loving it. Like the crowd was into it, and he just didn't want to stop. He just like was cool, just keeping going and like playing all different covers and different things. That was a great show.
Like I like I said, when we went and played or watched Coldplay, the Coldplay. They played the same songs, all 3 concerts, and there was the only time they switched. There was 2 times they went kind of on the backstage and they played, and that was the only time that the actual order of songs was not the same. So when we see, we saw them at Foxborough, same thing. Then we saw them at
really
with
so
you, was same thing. So I'm thinking, okay, well at least we'll see them the next night. So they did 2 nights in Montreal. We'll see them the next night. It'll be different. It was the exact same show. Now, granted, it was still fun because you're hearing the music,
right?
But when you go to me. That was very much regimented, where like if you go to Dave's show, every concert is different. Like,
right.
And I actually follow something on Instagram. I think it's called like antsmarching.org or something like that. They put the set list out of every single concert show, which is cool because you kind of go through and like, oh man, they opened with this or closed with that, or they had these songs in there, and they'll go through and they'll be like, there's like stats on his set list.
Yeah, I think you've told me that,
and it's insane. They're like, well. This is the first time on the tour for these 2 songs, and this song's been played the most, and this song is the most opening song, and I'm like...
Or this is the first time they played this song since June of 2006 in,
they just played
Washington.
a concert in Alabama. Like, this is the first time they played Crush since 2000, or since, like, 98 at this location. I'm like this, Jimmy Thing's been the most played song at this venue, and they've, like, over the last, like, 7 concerts at the show, and it's
like
insane.
They've got, not stats, but they've got stats on it. But what's like the new? I'm trying to think of the measurement like for all the sports they use now.
Oh, Moneyball, whatever that's called.
Right, that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah,
but yeah, they've got someone running all those numbers like on all the shows.
Well, they used to do that for the Dead concerts too, and it's like when you have like the nut fans, the ones that like are truly like nerded out about it. And I'm like same thing. I'm like, oh man, this show had this song, or look when we went, they played the Christmas song.
Yeah.
I've never heard Christmas song.
I read that the next day. That was the first time they'd played it, something like that.
In like years. Not even like a show, but like years they played it. And that was it's kind of cool when you go to shows like that. Because, I mean, like they played Warehouse and they play, which don't get me wrong, I love Warehouse Live, but they play all these songs that, I've heard before or, and then they have a couple songs that, they throw in there that they're still good. I mean, that might,
right.
It's not like if I pick my perfect ever Dave set list, it wouldn't be on it, but there's some good tunes. They play the new stuff and
see if that stuff was available back when I was in college in T-Hip, I was following them. I would have been all over that. I would have been the one uploading the songs to
for the T-Hip
yeah,
stuff?
Yeah.
They probably do. I'm telling you. Like,
now
there's got to
might.
be some person out there crazy enough to. I'm sure like that'd been like an Aaron Rosenbaum thing, stats and numbers and
the mini cassette. He would upload the entire show with him basically singing the entire time. That's all you could hear.
Well, we don't even have. Actually, were you the one that gave us the T-Hip lullaby thing for crew?
Yeah.
We don't have a CD player. We've never actually. It's actually sitting outside because Gina found it the other day, and it's like sitting on our end table. But
Yeah.
we don't have a CD player in either car. No, neither of our cars have it.
Really, the cars don't have it.
No, and I mean, I'm sure I could just go on Apple Music right now and download it.
Well, yeah, and I was like, that's probably what I should do. But I'm like, how do I give that as a gift? I got to give him the CD just to give it to him.
The CD looks cool, and then if you open up the jacket in the book or the booklet, they have. Like every band you can imagine, they have lullaby songs for the band. Like they have AC/DC, Leonard Skinner, Led Zeppelin.
That's awesome.
And then they have like Pearl Jam. They have Coldplay. So it's pretty cool. So I think I'm just going to go on Apple Music and download them and just be like, what's this all about? Because we play music every night for crew when he sleeps.
Yeah.
So I'm sure Gina would prefer to have that pumping in the room than waves against the rocks or tide.
That makes me think of that's basically what Jay Lesage does at Anthony's. Is he'll take a Pearl Jam, like a hard rock song, not hard rock, but rock song, and he'll play it like lounge style as a piano on a piano, or Red Hot Chili Peppers. Like there's a couple, and it's really cool because he changes it completely, but it's still the same song, but you may not catch it until like the first verse, and you're like, wait, is he singing Jeremy or Under the Bridge? What's he saying? And it's incredible. I love that.
When Gina goes like for the girls when they all do their birthday things, she'll show up and obviously Jay's playing, and he always ends up putting in Pearl Jam and Coldplay because Gina's always like play these songs. So all of a sudden she'll be eating and he'll be play. He actually played our wedding song, and I think she might have told him in the past. And it was funny because I think he learned it, and then he ended up. I don't know if this is like a normal thing he plays now, but she tried to tape it and show it to me, but all I heard was Jess talking. So, and I think Jess in the end of the video was like, "Oh my God, he's not gonna be able to hear it. He's gonna be talking." I'm like, "Oh, that's true." But so I actually never heard the rendition. But next time I see Jay, I'll ask if he can play it. But yeah, no, it's music's great. Like I said, maybe I don't know. Maybe we can get out. Obviously, it's a Friday, Saturday for Dave, right? This year.
Yeah. I was looking. I mean, we paid $300 a ticket last year for.
I mean, I would just sit.
That's the most I ever paid for a concert ticket, and I was like, "Holy shit!" But it was well worth it.
Yeah,
but yeah,
I would just to get the experience. I've never sat in the seats at SPAC.
Yeah,
so that'd be kind of cool. I don't know. Let me know.
Okay,
I'm not against it.
All right, I'm gonna start searching the dark web for some discounts.
A guy who knows a guy. So the other thing that we neither of us are doing right now that I think we would have been doing is down in Bethpage for the golf.
Oh man, I know. Yeah.
Have you watched any of it? I watched Tiger's presser this morning.
I saw it come through on my phone because I enabled the notifications from
the app.
The app, yeah. But no, I didn't watch. I'm not a big fan of watching him in press conferences. I don't know. I don't like watching him talk so much. But I do like reading all the stuff about it or watching highlights and things like that. But it just, with him in the mix, it's so much more interesting.
Well, the weird thing about this is it's the PGA. It's not the U.S. Open. So the last two times it was played there, which I went to, was 2002, which was my first ever time watching professional golf. So I have very good memories of that as a kid. And then 2009. And then this year, they've done a couple like of the Barclays and stuff there, which I never went down to. So we always went to like the majors.
Right.
And I was so excited. There was two. And I've known they were playing at Bethpage probably since 2011, 12. I was like, I knew they were playing 2019, and then 2024 is the Ryder Cup, which I'm making sure that we have all our kids by that point in time. So, so we actually had tickets for the Bethpage, which was this week. More than 9 months ago, because then I found out that the second,
and I was ready to buy some too, and then
my dad bought 4 sets. It was supposed to be you and your dad and me and my dad, and none of us are going for obvious reasons, and I'm looking forward to. I'm hoping Sunday's the due date, so
that's crazy.
But like I said, hopefully the baby comes maybe tomorrow or first round, and then you know Dad can sit down and watch it on Sunday.
Yeah, that's perfect timing.
I'd rather not be in the hospital during the final round, but if not, Gina might have to. I think she'll let me watch it in the room, or if not, I'll be streaming on the thing because she knew I wanted to go to it, so she'll probably be like, you can watch it.
There's Wi-Fi at the hospital, right?
Oh yeah, I'll be.
Just pull it up on the phone. Now you can just watch it, right?
Yeah, I'll have headphones on, just watching and be like, it's kind of like the Masters on Sundays. Like I'm out for 6 hours. Even though this year it was done by 2 was it? Yeah, and that was
started at 9.
That was very weird. Even I like that though. I kind of like the.
Yeah, because usually it's like I remember multiple majors where I'm either giving the kids a bath and trying to like watch the phone and watch them and keep them from drowning, and like I'm like this doesn't work, or we're eating dinner and it's happening, and I'm like, so that was actually perfect because like that's the kids like chill time usually after lunch and stuff. So I was able to sit down, and Malin actually watched with me.
Really?
She got into it, and Connor gets into it. So his thing is he picks basically at whatever time he gets into a certain sport or following it, he's I don't know if it's consciously or subconsciously, he picks whatever the number one team is. So he likes Tom Brady and the Patriots, unfortunately. He likes Dustin Johnson because DJ was number one when he started following it last year, or maybe 2 years ago. So now when I say Tigers, getting number one, he's like, well, where's Dustin Johnson? That's all he cares about. Because it was like Dustin Johnson, Justin Rose, and Justin Thomas were the top three for a while. Yeah, it's funny. And then I'm trying to think what other sports he's really into. It's not football.
Baseball?
He's got football. But baseball, yeah, he's the Yankees. Because what did he do? He also likes to find how many championships each team has. So, of course,
So he's a Yankees, Celtic,
Yankees,
Canadian fan?
Hasn't gotten into hockey or basketball, but baseball, I know that's why he likes the Yankees. And Allie's dad liked the Yankees and her whole family. And then, for a while he knew how many Super Bowls each team had. Like he knew that it was the Steelers had the most. They had 6, and now this year now, the Patriots tied them with 6. I think
They're both at 6.
Yeah. And the Giants were at 4, and I think the Cowboys and 49ers were at 5. But he knew all those stats and everything. But that's why he chose them. But it's annoying. But I always have. Well, Giants beat
You're a Giants fan, right?
Yeah. I'm like Giants beat your Patriots in 2 Super Bowls. So I've always got that.
He wasn't. Well, he was born for one of them, right?
Yeah.
12 was the last time they played. 11-12 season.
Yeah. He was born in 11. So
yeah. Actually, I think when the Giants won, 80, 88, 91, something like that, with Phil Simms.
Yeah, and LT.
Yep, and I remember, I think the first, or maybe it was 90, the first Super Bowl that the Giants won, or not the first, my first Super Bowl was only a couple months old, the Giants won, I believe. And then my dad was always a Giants fan, so if you had to give me one sports team to follow, it's the Giants, meaning it would have been the Montreal Expos, but we're waiting for them to come back.
Les Expos.
I was a huge Expos fan. But I follow. I like the Habs. I like playoff hockey. There's a game. The Bruins.
Boston's playing tonight against the Hurricanes.
So I'll be pumped. So I'll watch that game because I like playoff hockey. But I always root for the Canadians. I'm rooting for Boston now. So I'm not that big of a hockey fan because I'll root for either. Same thing with Red Sox and Yankees. If one of the two teams get in the playoffs, I'm rooting for whichever one's going farther. So if one of them knocks off, I'm rooting for the other one. But football, I am Giants through and through, meaning if the Giants are bad, I don't watch a lot of football, which has been the last couple of years. I'll watch the playoffs here and there.
It's going to get worse this year.
Yeah. Oh, geez. Yeah. But for the most part, if the Giants are doing decent or in the playoff hunt, I will watch every game.
Yeah.
And as soon as I know they're out, I'm done. If I know they have no shot, I won't watch the game. I won't even watch even if they run the table the last 5 games of the year and win, I'm out because that's the problem I fell out with college football. Now, luckily, Notre Dame's been better the last few years, but the problem is with college football for the longest time, you lose one game, there's a good chance you're done for the season.
Right.
So my thing was, until they came up with the playoff rules, if Notre Dame wasn't going to make it to the national championship, I was out. I don't care about them winning the Sugar Bowl as on New Year's Day.
Right.
That's the one thing I don't like about college football is at the end of the day, unless you're the top 2 teams playing for the championship, you're out. Meaning, at least NFL, if you get in as a wild card, you're still in the race.
Yeah, and you have a good chance sometimes.
Yeah, Giants, 2 years.
Yeah, I know.
So I'm a big New York Giants fan. Obviously, it's been rough the last few years, but we'll be back at some point.
I
In time.
will watch anything playoff, any playoff sports at all. Even
Do you watch basketball?
not much, but that's the one I never watch except for college basketball. With the tournament,
I do like the NBA Finals.
NBA. When I have to say the game I did watch was when LeBron came back and beat the
Golden State.
And that was really cool.
Was that when he was playing with Kyrie? Wasn't it in Golden State they won?
Yeah, they came back, and I think
watched that one too.
Was it Game 6 or Game 7? Mm-hmm. And the one where he ran down the court and blocked the guy that was going to lay it up on a fast break, and that like set the tone for like the last 3 minutes. Like that was the turning point.
I think I know what you're talking about. Where he scored like the last 25 points for the team.
Maybe, yeah.
It was some crazy stat.
But I mean, now that I've been listening to ESPN radio a lot more, and they talk a lot. The NBA gets a lot of coverage, so I never was a big fan of watch. I mean, growing up, it was Jordan was and the Bulls that was my team, because I kind of like Connor was like I jumped on with whatever the good team was, and that was fun back then. But never then I kind of lost touch with all that. But then now, just with everything that's been going on with Golden State and all the different stuff, I've been kind of keeping track. But I mean, like playoff baseball is incredible to me. Mm-hmm. Playoff hockey, same thing.
Hockey's one of the best,
and football's easy to watch no matter what. I mean, especially playoffs. But I'll watch that pretty much every weekend.
Football is great. My thing is like I can't keep track. Like I don't watch a lot of TV. Like I'll put on the hockey game tonight. So if like I'm home working, it's like great. The game's gonna get done probably around 10:30, so I can just kind of watch pretty much the whole thing. Baseball starts really late because it's longer games.
Yeah,
because hockey's a pretty quick sport.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, they have whistles and stuff, but it's pretty fast. And the good thing about football, for me, it's one game a week if you care for your team.
Right.
So it's like it's not a huge commitment.
Right.
I don't have to keep up on did they win last night or lose. It's like one game on Sunday
and
or
it's
whenever.
Always on a weekend. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
and,
not like you're...
I mean, even a Thursday night game, it's like great. Like, who cares? You know, it's like a perfect time of the week. I think the worst is probably Monday Night Football, but that's, I mean, when we grew up, Monday Night Football was like the premier game of the week, and then they started doing the Sunday Night Football, which is overtaken. I mean, Sunday Night Football is the best game of the usually the top two teams.
Yeah, because they it's a flex. They can change who's playing week to week.
Yeah,
like,
they always pick kind of like the game of the week, and they'll bump it. But usually every year, the Giants and the Cowboys, at least the last few years, have opened up on Sunday Night Football.
Right.
Back in the day, when I was living with some people for in an apartment, that was our Romeo Wing Night. We'd get. This is before Hobie's opened up, so we'd go up to Pasquale's, get a bunch of wings.
What's Romeo Wing Night?
You know Romeo Wings? Pasquale's?
No.
Oh my, no? Oh my God!
Is that the Romeo pizza that's at Hobie's?
The same sauce, but it's on the wing. Romeo Wings? Okay. Oh my God! I'll have to get you some.
I was there watching a tournament game, NCAA tournament last winter.
They're phenomenal.
With Damien, and he was like, I'm going to get some Romeo pizza. I'm like, what the hell is that? And he looked at me like I had 5 heads. Same thing. Yeah. And now you just said that about the wings.
Oh, you get the wings. I haven't got the pizza. I mean, I know what it is. Yeah, they have Romeo pizza, which is just a drizzle of the sauce, but it's just like a mixture of the sauce that they make. Hey, God, to put those on the wings are phenomenal. So we would get these. We each got 20 wings. So we'd get 40 wings, I think. We buy or 50 wings. I don't know what it was. We bought a lot of wings.
Yeah.
And that's all we did. So we'd go up and we always did like rounds of 5. So you'd eat like 5 wings, watch a few minutes, go back up, throw 5 more on, and it was funny. So I always I'm a leg guy when it comes to wings. I don't like the wings. Me too. So my buddy always liked the actual wing, so it was perfect. So we like split down the middle, and it was usually like, for the most part, I always end up getting a couple extra wings, but I added like the 20 that I was able to eat, 17 or 18 were the legs, so it was perfect. It worked out great.
I love the legs too.
And but yeah, if you can, I mean, obviously Hobie's has them, but we'd always get them from Pasquale's. But it's the same stuff. It's really good.
Yeah.
So yeah, next time you're venturing out for a Hobie's meal, get Romeo wings. They're probably my favorite wings in town. They're very good. Yeah, but that's you just got to do that.
Let's order some right now.
What's it set? Oh, maybe, I don't know.
Is it 7?
We've ordered us. It's 6.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at the wrong hand. That analog clock throws you off every time.
That's what she said.
Oh fuck.
Sorry.
Oh yeah, so back to Bethpage. You think Tagger or no? What do you think his chances are? Because he won in 09, or he won in 10, and he was like top 3 or 4 in 09.
I honestly think he does have a chance. I mean, winning the Masters. I mean, that just opens up everything. So now he's got a chance at every major. When you think about it,
I think
it's
he's
funny he hasn't
win.
played since the Masters, but he has done that before and still won. But I think he's gonna do that more often.
I think he's gonna win.
Yeah.
I think it's just one of those that. Now, granted, obviously, if he just has some like off thing, but the last 2 tournaments he's won, and even the ones that he's played, he's gotten like top 5 in almost all of them. His ball striking, which has always been kind of his negative, like he was always very good short game and putter. Obviously he was good at the long game, but it was like his driver was always questionable and stuff. Now he's driving it as long as anybody. His irons, I think, are better than anybody, his approach shots, and then it comes down to can he make some putts. And to me, if you've played on this course before and you've had a good experience on this course, as long as you're rolling it fairly decent, you have a shot. Especially, they said this is his 20th PGA.
Yeah,
he's got experience with the course. So
and he's recovering well on bad shots, like bad drives too. Mm-hmm. Which, from what I've just seen a little bit about Bethpage, it's like you can be in deep shit if you really try to make a hero shot in a bad spot. So
I know the course. Like I said, I've been there for 2 tournaments. So I know the course very well. It's almost like a weird. I probably know by memory a solid 13 or 14 holes. And if you go online, there's this guy that does kind of like a thing on YouTube with golf, and it's a 3-part series, and they're all like a half hour to 40 minutes long. I only got to like 20 minutes of the first one.
Okay,
but they're basically saying, can we break 80 at Bethpage? And it's so funny because they're kind of doing it like comically, meaning like they're good golfers.
They're good, okay,
but they're playing. No, yeah, they're very good golfers, but they're playing. But they're like joking between shots and they're like razzing each other. And on the first hole, the guy actually chips in for birdie from the back, and the guy's like, he's going by. It's just kind of fast, slopes away, and he hits the perfect shot, lands, rolls, hits the pin, and drops in. And it had pretty good speed on it. But they're like, they were playing, trying to make it as hard as possible. So they're basically playing back foot in the rough, meaning like your back foot has to be in the back. It has to be the rough behind the tee box, meaning you're literally playing as far back as you can.
Yeah.
Which I think is a little overkill, but because a couple times when they're taking the club back, they're brushing the grass. So
right.
To me, it's like I think the rule is there has to be at least 2 yards beyond the club, because you can't tee the ball 2 yards beyond the tees. That's a rule. I believe it's 2 yards. So technically, you can't be any further back than 2 yards. You have to have at least 2 yards on the tee box. So you don't have to tee up right on the tee box.
Right.
So you can pull it back.
Pull back a little bit.
I guess if it comes into play in a par 3, technically, if you wanted an extra 2 yards of safety, you really could pull it back a little bit. Obviously, nobody does that. They go right up to the tee and hit it. But at that level, they can play around with that a little bit. But it's fun to watch them, and you see how hard this hole is. Like number 3 is 240 yards from the back, and
par 3,
and it's just, it's a hard hole, and I was, watching it. They have like a 500-yard par 4, and I don't know if they have any 600-yard par 5s. I think 13 might be. But you watch these guys, and the green or the fairways are stripped down like that. So when you my buddy went and played it last year because it's a public course,
right?
And you think at where it is now, if you take the normal fairway, you're probably going out 10 yards either direction as fairway. So they shrink it right in. They raise all the rough up.
They just let it grow.
Yeah, and it ends up becoming kind of like a tiered system. And I think when they played in 02, I don't think they had much of a tiered system, meaning the grass gets longer as they kind of slowly cut it.
Yeah.
Longer as you get farther out the fairway. So I think it was rough, or it was the fringe or the edge of the fairway. Then they had the normal rough, and they just went tall stuff. So they didn't really have this
wow.
Where I think they got a little bit better at it, because 2002 was a bear. Guys were hitting in the fescue, and it was okay, we're taking out a sand wedge and just hacking it back into the fairway, and they were barely making it to the fairway.
That was the year that Tiger was the only one under par, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the last time he won at Bethpage, right? Or 2009?
No, you're right. Yep, because 09 was Lucas Glover.
Oh yeah, Glover.
Lucas Glover, who I think stopped playing golf in 09. So remember Hunter Mayhem?
Yeah.
he was like struggling on mini tours. I remember that he
Really?
used to be like Mr. Ryder Cup and well, he didn't play well in the Ryder Cup, but like he was always top 10, 15 in the world. He would win a couple times on tour. Right. And now I think he's on like whatever the tour is, not the Hooters tour anymore, but whatever that is, and he's like barely making cuts.
They had a Hooters tour?
Yeah, that was like their for the longest time. That was a Hooters tour.
Now it's web.com. I
think it is. Yes, they changed it up. That was John Daly pulled that sponsorship in. Actually, did you hear in the tagger? I didn't. I have to read up on this.
John Daly's playing,
but in a cart,
and he gets a cart. Yep.
What's the reasoning on that?
His knees, and it's he applied under the ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act, and they granted it because he can walk up a hill, but he can't walk down a hill. His knees are just shot. I read the thing on it. I saw that, but I didn't even realize he was playing. Then I was like, I read that
he's a past champion.
If you're a past champion, you're exemption for life and you can play.
So, the reason being is I saw Sean McKeel in there, and I was at 03 Oak Hill when he won. I'm like, Sean McKeel hasn't won anything since that was his only tournament win ever, and he was playing. And I'm like, why is he playing in the U.S. Open? Because I'm not thinking it's the PGA, but John won at Crooked Stick back in the day, so ninth alternate. But
old school.
I don't know.
Is that the only major that you're exempt for life? You can always play? It
must be, because I think the U.S. Open's 10-year exemption.
Okay.
So if you win, obviously they're in 2009, so like Lucas Glover's probably in the field this year of the U.S. Open as being a 10-year exemption on tour. And I think at a certain point, I read the guidelines one time, like to get in the U.S. Open, it's like top 50 in the world make it. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of like leeway, but then it's like the winner of the Japanese tour makes it, the winner of or the money leader on that, a certain amount of European tour guys. But I think PGA must be for life. And you got to figure, they only play a certain amount. But I think Tagger said in the press conference that Arnold Palmer played in like, was it 50 Masters or 50 PGAs? And
wow.
But it was funny. They asked Tagger, like, well, what is your opinion on John Daly using a cart? Which to me, I think is a little bit of an advantage, obviously, because it's a long course and you're standing and walking and stuff to get to drive in a cart. So Tagger kind of smirks, and I'm waiting for him because obviously they're all friends on tour. I mean, so Tagger goes, well, I won the U.S. Open on a broken leg, and then he goes, and then he just kind of smirked, and then went to the next question. So I think it was one of those things like
touche, yeah.
Yeah, it was like, well, he's got a point there, and I mean, if you watch Tagger in 2008,
that was Torrey Pines.
Yeah, and he was gimping along like a. Yeah,
that was what the hell was that guy's name?
Rocco Mediate.
Another good name.
Rocco Mediate, yeah. And the only and to be honest, he should have won. I mean, I say should have won in the sense that Tagger pulled off some great shots to stay in the game, and that would have been one hell of a win for him. I mean, once it got to the Monday, you knew he was toast.
Right.
I mean, Tagger made the putt on 18 on Sunday. And you said you haven't golfed this year yet?
No, I think I'm going to go this weekend.
Yeah,
I always love going, especially when the majors are being played, because it just feels like it's
you should be golfing.
It's more elevated, yeah. And but I looked at the weather. It's at least going to be.
Oh, this
shows at least some sun in 60s. So I'm like, that's going to feel like 80.
Yeah.
But it's just been shit. And like the one on my birthday, usually I go, but we were doing stuff for Connor that whole day, and then it was nice the following day, and I'll take a day off from work and just go just to get out because I've got that membership at Harmony. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I want to use the hell out of that. But like I've never played in April, and I was ready to this year, but I couldn't make it out a couple of those days. But I was ready to start. So yeah, I'm gonna go out this weekend if I can.
Yeah, I haven't played in April since I was a kid. We used to North Country. It was $100 membership for a junior member.
That's amazing.
I had that paid off in April. Like I legit, like I remember going out in crap weather and like, swipe anything. I mean, they knew who you were, so you just kind of like walked in, told them you would be on the course, and you went out and played. And man, I remember back then. I mean, this was 10, 15 years ago. May was like soft. There was always soft because of the ground and stuff, but it was always nice. Like you'd go out and play easily this time of year, and it would be, like you said, probably mid 60s, and I just remember going out and playing a lot of really good May rounds.
Right.
And then now it's gotten to the point where, I mean, you won't have good golf until probably mid-June. By the time the course dries up and and the grass kind of matures a bit.
Well, and it's been almost freezing at night still, and it's in the freaking 40s today in rain, and it feels like it's 30.
It feels. Yeah,
so it doesn't make you want to go play.
I've had one day this year that I didn't bring a jacket or didn't wear a jacket out.
Really?
Meaning, I should say
leaving the house
work-wise. I mean, I've a couple times leaving our house like on a weekend or something, because it was midday. But like leaving in the morning, there was one day I didn't have a jacket, and that was a few weeks back, about a week and a half ago or whatever, when it was, I don't know if it hit 70, but it was pretty darn close.
Yeah.
But it was sunny. Like you said, it felt like
70. That was the day after my birthday, that Monday. It was like 75.
I think so, yeah. And I
it
remember just
felt
walking around.
like I had to inspect the marina that day, and I got a sunburn. I was out for like 2 hours, and like my nose was like completely red, and it's like peeling a little bit. I'm like, what the hell is this? Because it's like, I was not expecting that at all, but it was nice out. That's why I couldn't go play, because I had to inspect the GD Marina.
Oh, there you go.
Which I shouldn't be complaining. That's not a bad thing to do on a nice day. But
no, it could be worse. I was gonna say, showing like when I show lakefront properties, like it's so much nicer the days that it's like really nice out.
Oh, I know.
Or the other thing is I've shown before in the evenings when it's like nice calm water and it's warm, and usually kind of a July August day. Those are nice too. And then, I mean, there's also the extremes when it's 20 degrees. We had that really the big cold snap back in like January.
Yep.
I had my my negative 40 boots on, and I remember I mean, it was freezing out. It was so cold, and you go in the house, and especially if you were in a vacant home, it's like, this sucks.
Yeah.
Do you know that negative 40 Fahrenheit is negative 40 Celsius?
That's where they reach the same number, and then it starts to go the other way.
Negative 40, because they had on the tag, these boots are good up to negative 40 Celsius/Fahrenheit.
That's why they can say that?
Yeah, and I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. And I was doing the math, like converting it on like a Google converter or whatever, and it was like negative 39, they're different. Negative 40, exact. It was like the oddest thing. But how's it negative 40? Because
from when it's, let's say, negative 1 Fahrenheit, what is it Celsius? It's a higher number or a lower
no, it
negative
keeps going
number?
Negative. So like freezing for us is 32, because the conversion is I think it's
0 Celsius is
32
Fahrenheit. Okay.
So I think the conversion is like multiply the number by 1.4 or 1.7 or 9 or 6 or whatever. It's 1 point something, and then you add 32 to it, and that's the conversion from Celsius to Fahrenheit.
Okay.
So obviously at 0 it's 32, but as soon as you go negative, I've never understood. If you go negative 1 Celsius, is that 28 degrees Fahrenheit?
Right.
Like, I don't know, because it's below freezing,
right.
but it becomes a weird scale at that point.
Yeah, I've never gone negative. I can do the calculation.
Or maybe it does go negative. But like, you think negative 40.
We need a consultant, science consultant.
Well, you know what it must be? It must be negative 40 times 1 point whatever, so it goes negative down to like, must go down to 72. Then you add the 32 back, and it brings you up to 40. That must be it.
There you go.
I got to figure that out, because it's funny when you look at it.
Well, I know going the other way, it would always be you take Fahrenheit times, you double it, and you add 30. No,
there's a decimal in there, and it's I know it's a decimal.
I had a way of doing it.
It's
and
1
it was
point
close.
something plus 32. I know you can do kilometers in miles per hour, where you
1.6. That one's pretty.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. There's 1.6 kilometers per mile.
There was another way I used to do it, though. I think it was if you double. Oh God, I don't remember. It was another like quick conversion. It wasn't exact, obviously.
Let's call Aaron.
Yeah, he can break that down. Gee,
what's up?
Give me some of that. Actually, I told him about this thing, and he was like, podcast. Wait, he's doing a podcast? Like, what? I'll send him the link.
See if let him listen to it.
See if he wants to.
He'll be giggling.
I think he would be fun. I mean, he's way too smart for me. I wouldn't be able to keep my brain.
Could you do one on the phone? Are you set up for that?
I could. I know there's a way I could probably do this or do that on this.
Yeah, right in there.
Well, I think I have a line out. What I've tried to do is we actually got a good. We're not filming today for, like I said, kind of on call kind of thing. But I ended up getting this really nice external mic because Jordan, who's your cousin, does all the editing. So what we were doing before was I was just using the mic on the camera. Or I had an external mic, but it wasn't that good. So she was trying to sync up the voices with the video,
Right.
which is pretty tough to do.
Yeah.
So now I got a good external mic, but I also got an adapter where I was trying to put the line in here and then have it go right into the output of the phone.
Right.
And I didn't try this enough to actually see if it works, but in theory, hopefully the phone would be picking up this audio, which is this audio, like we can hear it in our mics and stuff. But if I play it back, it sounds not too good. But then when we upload it, like it sounds great. Like if I upload this to iTunes right now, it sounds clear as day.
Nice.
So it's kind of a weird. I don't really know the audio that well. I'm not into the audio yet. I'm still kind of trying to learn the terms and the mics are XLR mics, which I didn't know what those are, but it's the prongs basically. And you once you kind of learn all the lingo and what chords go into what and input output, you can kind of figure it out. I found out too that if you look at the end of like a phone jack or like a headset, like the little jack, if it has two little lines around it, that is good for. I think that's good for mic audio, but it's not good for headsets. Oh, the headsets have three. So if you ever look like the old iPhone ones before they had the dongle they would always have three because those are headset.
Did you say dongle?
Dongle.
Is that what that is?
That's what the little white thing's called. Like the little converter, they call it a dongle. DONGAL, I think, or EL.
That's a nice word to throw in there.
Yeah. So
you sound smart.
Yeah, that's it's an iPhone dongle.
But that is a weird name for that.
Here.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah. It's like the wide, thin adapter.
But, yeah, so this whole thing, you see how this has two prongs?
Yep.
So I had to buy this little Rode adapter, which
there's the three.
Two and a three. So, and that's the dongle.
Okay.
Dongle live right here.
It would be nice if we were videotaping this for everybody.
So just take my word for it. They all fit.
Get your dongle.
They all go in the hole. That's what she said.
This is sex ed.
So
dongles.
Yeah, so we figured it out, but basically that was for Jordan. So make Jordan's
She's
life.
awesome.
That's all we're doing, making Jordan's life easier.
I know.
I gave her the title. I said, Jordan, what do you want your title to be? So now we just call her Chief Creative Officer. She's a CCO of the company, Chief Creative Officer. So that will hopefully expand into the cooler roles. But I think that's a great title. She'll merge into that the big title. She does a lot though. She's actually very good.
She's my first cousin and literally the first cousin I ever had, and she's only one of two cousins.
She's only been passed by one other cousin.
Yeah, I know it's not very North Country to only have two cousins.
Yes, you have two cousins, two uncles, and one aunt. Right?
Yes. Well, yeah, but only by blood, two uncles. And then obviously my uncle married.
Yeah.
That's my aunt by marriage. But yeah, my mom had one brother who's married, and that's Jordan's parents. And then my dad had one brother who's not married, and that's it.
That is, coming from my family, that was like a shock. I remember Gina goes to I drag her to family parties and stuff, and I always... Aunts will come up to her. It's always aunts. Uncles don't really care. Aunts will always come up and they'll say something to her, and they expect that she knows who they are. And she knows my really close aunts. But when they start getting distant, or my mom's cousins or aunts, I'm like,
right.
I've known them for 30 years, so I can kind of keep track. And she's like, she'll look at them. She's like, doesn't remember meeting them, which is totally fair because my family's tree has a lot more roots to it than you guys. So, but that was like one of the odd things coming into your family was like. Family get-togethers for you was kind of just like inviting over one your aunt, uncle, and a couple cousins, and it really only made the family dinners like twice the amount of people. Where our family, it's like I don't think we're going to invite them because you invite one set, you had to invite the other 6 sets of
right.
So it ends up being we just grew up with a lot of cousins, big families, and I mean, we saw Ashley this weekend, but and that's. Another connection that I never knew you guys through, and
I know.
And I think sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, growing up, I remember we didn't have any cousins until Jordan was born, and she's what, 21, 22?
21. Yeah, she just hit 21.
Yeah, so pretty much all through elementary school, middle school, until she was born, I didn't have any cousins. And I remember, like, so growing up in the North Country with all these kids, they were like, what do you mean you don't have any cousins? Like, I have literally 55 cousins. And I'm like, I don't have any. They're like, that's not possible. You cannot not have a cousin. I'm like, I don't. And, like, like I had second cousins or third cousins or whatever the hell you wanted to call them. But no first cousins until Jordan was born.
Yeah, you were getting ready to graduate high school.
Yeah, because that would have been 98. She was born.
That's crazy.
Right around there, 99, something like that. So yeah, and my brother had graduated high school. I was just about to graduate, and Gina was still in high school.
That's like some of my cousins on my dad's side. 'Cause we're like the younger ones on my dad's side. Where my mom's side, we were like right in the middle of like everybody.
Right.
And I didn't really know a lot of my cousins until recently. You know, I'll see them at parties now, but now we're more, like I said, a lot of them are about your age and maybe some in the early 40s. So I can talk to them more now than I ever did as a kid, because they were always like, you know, when we were growing up, they were at college or moved away or whatever. So you wouldn't see them as frequent as you would now. So I had one cousin, I get along with him great, but I hadn't seen him since I was a kid. We went to go visit his family down in South Carolina, and he was visiting his sister out in Seattle at the time. So I didn't see him then. So the next time I saw him at his wedding, which was, I probably hadn't seen him in 10 years, but
wow.
It was great. I mean, it was one of those deals we kind of just picked up where we left off, and I was a few years younger than him, and, you know, growing up. So, 4 years when you're in elementary and high school is a pretty big gap compared to now. And then a couple of years ago, he came up and visited, and Gina met him and his wife, and I think they have 2 kids now. And it was just funny though, like, you know, some cousins just never see, you know, I mean, you see them, but
right.
It's, you know, we live different parts of the country, and it's kind of nice when you do get to see them, or you see them like at weddings or big events like that. But to only have 2 cousins, that's
well, and I knew a guy in school who was an uncle before he was even born.
What, I got to wrap my head around that. Was an uncle before he was.
So
his
oldest brother was like 10 or 15. No, his oldest brother was 20 years older than him, and had a family young, and his
parents weren't done.
So his nephew is older than him. His nephew's like a couple years older than him, because his brother's first kid was born before he was even born, because his parents had an oops, I think, and he came out much later in life.
That's wild.
But I was like, that's pretty cool. So yeah, only in the North Country. Well, probably other places in the South, but how far is your reach down in the South? I'm going to pick off a lot of people.
The Panhandle. We actually, was funny. I'm trying to think. We had my buddy Larry, who grew up in Alabama, and he's grew up in Arkansas, and went to school in Florida. And I mean, he was kind of in and around there. They had Scott Brightwell, Scott's like deep South, and at first, funny, Scott's family, or where he grew up, was in Tennessee. And I said, "What town?" And he told me the town, which is the exact same town my cousins live in, which is
really.
It's not like Nashville. It's a town half hour outside Knoxville. And I'm like, Oak Ridge, and he goes, "Yeah, I'm from Oak Ridge." I'm like, "No way." So there's probably a point in time where we were both in Oak Ridge. Right. They know each other, and they moved up here. But then he's like deep South, and at one point, Larry, who's, I guarantee you will listen to this, Larry was saying something about, I think he texted me as he was listening to Scott say the deep South of Tennessee, and he's like, "Deep South my ass." And then I'm like, we'll keep listening to the thing. So Scott actually had lived literally all the way down in the deep South, Mississippi, Alabama. But it's so funny when you see, Scott's an interesting, do you know Scott Brightwell?
No.
Very interesting guy. And he was on the podcast. He was the one that was the 3.5 hour, but he had a lot to say. Very smart guy.
I apologize to the Southerners for the backhanded comment.
No, it's true. The Panhandle of Florida, and I think both of them will agree that, yeah, there's probably it's kind of like Forrest Gump. There are a lot of southern.
It's funny that you said something about being in the same town at the same time, not knowing it. Like, so that made me think of something. The world just keeps getting smaller. It's crazy. It's almost like it's got to be something with divine intervention when these things happen. But I remember when like I said, we went on a cross country trip when I was finished working at Turtle that last summer. That October, we went on a cross country trip, me and another buddy. Anyway, long story short, we went across the northern part of the U.S. up to Seattle, down the coast to San Francisco. So we're in San Francisco. We're getting ready to, I think we're waiting outside. Maybe we had just gotten back from doing the Alcatraz tour or whatever, and we were just hanging out downtown, and there was like this, in San Francisco, there was this like street performer, and like everyone started gathering around, and like we're just like hanging out watching it. And then we kind of look over our shoulder at one point, and we're going to sit down on this bench, and there's other guys sitting on the bench. We look over, and it is the guy who was the food runner at the Turtle all summer, and he was out there, just happened to be in San Francisco the exact same time and the exact same day on the exact same block of San Francisco. And we're like, what are you doing here? And he's like, what are you doing here? And like, we're like, holy shit. It's so weird how those things happen. I've did a lot of traveling through college and after, and those things happen more often than not. And I was just like, this is just really crazy.
We went on a cruise a couple years ago, and my uncle, so my same uncle, reached out, and he said he was talking to my dad, so he called my dad up, and they were just kind of chit-chatting. He's like, oh, I'm going on a cruise tomorrow. And my dad goes, really? Gaelan's going on a cruise tomorrow. And I had never been on a cruise before, and I didn't realize we were going out of Fort Lauderdale, that when you say like you're going out of a cruise, like you show up that day, there's like 8 cruises going out. There's like 8 boats.
Right.
It's not like everybody's going on the same boat. And I didn't know this at the time. The people we were going with had been on a cruise before, so they're telling us, like, no, there's more than one boat going out. So my uncle calls me, and he goes, are you going on a cruise? You're going on a cruise tomorrow, right, out of Fort Lauderdale? I'm like, yeah. I said, I think we're on this line or whatever it was. And he goes, we're on the same one. And it was so funny because, I mean, we were literally both down in Fort Lauderdale getting ready to go on this thing. So then I'm sitting there and I'm checking in, and there's only so many Trombleys going on this cruise, so literally right above my name was his name and my aunt's name. And I don't know if I would have picked up on it right then. I probably would have, because I would have been like, wait, are they on the, and I would have probably called them right off because their check-in name was right above me. Well, sure enough, we're thinking like, and he's like, well, maybe we'll see each other. We'll try to catch up because we're not like, we don't have phones. Like, hopefully we'll run into each other.
Right.
Within 20 minutes, I had to run into him on the boat. And it was so funny because you're kind of like, I probably ran into him almost every day of the cruise. We were probably on the cruise for like 8 days, maybe 7 days, whatever it was. And I probably saw him 8 to 10 times because you'd see him passing, or we'd see him at the gym, or we'd see him go out to eat. And I mean, we'd talk to him, we'd stop and talk. We'd be on the deck, and we'd just sit there and, catch up for a few minutes, or, 10 minutes, 15 minutes here and there. And it was just so funny that the same thing, like it would have been weird if I didn't know he was on the boat, and all of a sudden we just like on the deck and be like, Larry, what are you doing here? And so that was kind of a funny thing, but it does happen.
Oh, I know. And I just thought of another one. I was we went to Kentucky to visit. Actually, Greg, the same guy I went on the cross country trip with. After we got back from that, he went to school in Kentucky, in Paducah, which is like south of Cincinnati, because Cincinnati's right on the border of Kentucky, but it's in Ohio, I think. I can't remember. But anyway, so we're there visiting Greg, and we're out at a bar, and there's like, it's kind of like a bluegrass music that's playing and kind of thing. And anyway, the band gets done playing, and one of the guys, they all just kind of mingle and hang out in the bar. And anyway, so we start talking with one of the guys that's in the band, and anyway, we start talking, and we tell him where we're from, and you say New York, everyone thinks New York City, and he's like, what part of New York? And I'm like, well, you wouldn't know, it's way upstate. He's like, well, try me. And we're like, Plattsburgh. He's like, Plattsburgh. He goes, yeah. He goes, I play in a band with guys from right around there. And I was like, what are you talking about? He goes, Gibson Brothers. And he literally, so Jordan will like this because she'll remember this, but the Gibson Brothers played at, I think it was at her parents' house for her grandmother's 80th, 90th birthday, or someone's anniversary. Yeah. This is probably like 15 years ago. Maybe it wasn't her parents' house, but maybe it was someone's house in the family or somewhere. They
probably knew their family.
Because they knew the Rouse, her mom's family. Mm-hmm. And he played with the Gibson Brothers, and he was he's from Kentucky.
Yeah, Barber. No, not Barber. He's a fiddle player.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. He's got the beard.
So,
Yeah.
I've never seen him or talked to him or ever seen a picture of him since.
How long ago was this?
This was like 2005, 2006.
I remember.
And we just happened to be in the exact same bar.
That's funny.
At the exact same time in this little town in
you had
Kentucky.
heard of the Gibson brothers at the time.
Yeah, and I kind of knew, but and she's like, yeah. He goes, I know your aunt, and he's like, I know the whole crew from Ellenberg, and I'm like, holy shit, what the hell? Like that's pretty those wild. Things are just like
I know exactly the guy you're talking about too.
Yeah.
He had a pretty good beard and a fiddle player.
Okay,
fairly young guy, I think.
I don't remember. I never had followed them at that point, and I knew the connection a little bit, but yeah, that was. They've done a bunch of stuff at Shazy too, haven't they?
Yeah, they play every January, I think. There.
I still have never seen them, and I can't believe that.
Well, Gibson Guitar was, I believe, the founder of Gibson. You've heard of Gibson, right?
Yeah.
Guitar. The founder is buried in Malone. I think he's from Malone.
Really?
That was like their family.
It's
I don't know how many generations back, but the guy that came up with the Gibsons was from that area. There's actually photos if you go on like Dick's Country Oasis, Guns, Groceries, Gas, and Guitars, and there's pictures of Matt Damon in there. There's pictures of John Krasinski in there. There's
what they've gone to the store.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah. I'll pull it up while we're talking.
Okay.
Yeah, so they were doing something. I probably research of some sort for a movie, and they both let me see. Dick's Country.
Oh, was that the movie about like the?
I think the windmills.
Yes, yeah. Because that would make me think of something like that. Landscape was similar. I don't know if they were doing it out there, but it must have been because of the windmills in Ellenberg. But yeah, they that place is pretty crazy.
Yeah, the girl even has a Dick's Country Oasis. So there's Matt Damon, and then John Krasinski.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, so they were both on there for some reason, but they were doing something up there at the time, and I think they were passing through together. I think they were doing some type of research for the show, and so I don't know where exactly they went, but it's kind of cool that they were out there at the old.
That was the movie. That's the one movie I can think of. They were in together, and that was a pretty good movie. It's funny. I was at.
Oh, that's definitely Office Gym at that point.
Yeah, Office Gym. I actually saw Matt Damon on the Letterman show. We were live in studio, me and Allie. She was pregnant for Connor. That was
for Letterman.
Yeah, we got on the Letterman, and that was before he retired and everything. But that was Florence and the Machine played.
This is what Matt Damon.
Matt Damon was the guest in Florence and the Machine. I'd never heard of Florence and the Machine.
Yeah, great voice.
I was literally blown away. It's so funny too because I found the YouTube video of that show of just her playing, and it's funny because
was it "Dog's Days Are Over"? Is that the song?
Cosmic Love.
Okay, maybe
it's listen to it. Just look up Cosmic Love Letterman, and the performance. I mean, it's special to us because we were there, and like Allie was pregnant with Connor. I mean, that was in December. He came out like 2 or 3 months, so she was like 6 months pregnant. Anyway, so ever since that song has been, I'll play that on my phone since he was a baby. Like that calms him down at night, and he'll go to sleep. It's almost like they're like
internal.
Right. He heard it while he was in utero, and it still works. But that was pretty cool. That was fun being on Letterman. Not being on Letterman, but being at Letterman.
Well, you were a guest.
Yeah.
How's Paul?
How have I not been on your podcast yet?
Yeah. Jeez. Actually, he had my next guest, that thing on Netflix.
Yeah.
Which I watched a couple of them.
He had the big beard.
Yeah, he looked rough, but he did that thing. Were you an SNL guy?
Yeah.
Did you see Sandler went on this past week?
I did.
First time back since 95, 96.
I just caught a YouTube clip of him singing the Farley song.
Have you heard that before?
No.
Did you watch his? I heard it. He sang the special. I want to say a little more. No, it's pretty much the same. I think he PG'd it a little bit, but like he sang it on.
That was another song he did.
No, his Netflix special. He played the song.
Oh.
On the Netflix special also, which is pretty good. Does a lot of singing on it, but it was funny. Yes, we did the Farley song. I didn't realize that. I was never a big SNL. Like I actually watched SNL, but like all those guys, I watched all their movies.
Right.
Like Mike Myers and Farley and Spade. But I guess Farley, Spade, Chris Rock, and Sandler were all like, they all came up at the same time and they all shared an office. Like,
really?
How is that? And did you see the opening monologue?
No, I didn't watch anything besides just that video I saw of the song.
So there was a couple. You have to watch it, but there's a couple things. So he gets up and I guess he had a bad relationship with like the higher ups at NBC. Mm-hmm. So they ended up firing him, and then so he starts doing the skit, and this is the first time he came back.
Right.
And I had heard something to the effect that I think that one of the guys had either just retired or one of the guys he had a feud with, and I think it kind of was almost like it was a little more clear for him to come back. And he goes on the opening monologue, and he comes out and he's like, "Yeah, this is great. I got my family, my wife, and my 2 kids here." And he goes, "I always tell my daughters, he goes, some of the best times of my life were SNL." And they go, "Well, then why did you leave?"
Right.
And then he grabs the mic and he goes, "I was fired." And then he starts going into this like funny song, and then all of a sudden like they're talking, all of a sudden like Chris Rock just comes randomly walking out, and the crowd goes crazy, and he's like, "Hey, Chris," and he's like, "How you doing, Adam?" And they're just kind of chit chatting. He goes, "Yeah, you remember the time we were on?" He goes, and he goes, "Yeah," and then he goes into because he was fired also.
Was he? This was during the whole monologue?
This is the monologue. And I don't know the guy that well, but he does the his name's Pete Davidson.
Okay.
He's one of the guys on the show, and I think he's kind of starting to get a little more notoriety as like a guy. So he gets up and he's like, he goes, "Hey, Pete, how you doing?" He goes, "Good." He goes, "And I was fired." He goes, No, Pete, you're still on the show." He goes, "How's that possible?" And he goes, "Give it time," or something like that. And then he goes off, and they do this whole like little skit, and it was kind of a funny thing. And then but I think the best skit, the Farley song, obviously like is like a good tribute to him. But the best, he comes walking up, and it's a Sandler family reunion, and they're all dressed up and stuff. And he comes out, and they just start doing all these stupid things that you see in all his movies. So basically, the whole premise was all his relatives are the subjects of his movie. So like,
right.
So one guy gets up, and this lady comes walking up, and she starts stuttering, basically like Bobby Boucher, and she goes, you use me in your movies. And he goes, "No, I promise you, I didn't use you." And she goes, "There's a character that really resembles me." And he goes, "I swear Bobby Boucher was not named after." She goes, "Who?" She goes, I'm talking about Big Daddy or something like that." No, obviously it wasn't. And then one guy gets out, and he's comes hobbling over, and he goes, "You use me for Chubbs." And he goes, "Now why would you say that?" He goes, "Well, one, my name's Chubbs," and he's dressed up just like Carl Weathers. And it was a pretty funny skit. You'll have to watch it.
I gotta check that out.
They had like, Billy Madison, and they had Little Nicky, and all these guys that were on it. But
that's the one show I wanna go to. It was Letterman and SNL, and I think
SNL would be fun.
Yeah, and I don't watch it much anymore, and I hear about the skits here and there once in a while. But I know now you can watch the recap on.
I watch them on YouTube.
Yeah, or whatever.
Because they'll have little skits, so you can just be like Sandler SNL, and they'll pull up every skit he was in. You can just watch it, which is great. So
right, because I'm passed out by that time anyway on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm usually dependent on the guest or the musical guest. Like if Dave's on it, I might watch or whatever. But it's like Sandler growing up was my by far favorite actor.
Yeah,
all the dumb movies. I've seen Happy Gilmore more than any movie in my life.
Really,
Happy Gilmore, maybe Sandlot.
Oh, Sandlot's good.
Sandlot is. I can't wait till Crew's old enough to kind of comprehend Sandlot.
We introduced that to the kids, our neighbors, and the Chases. They had it all set up, and the kids had seen it once, and our kids were over, and I was like, "Yeah, let's play it." And now they've seen it a couple times, so now like I can talk about Squints and forever. And like he gets it and he laughs, so like it's timeless. It's awesome.
Hey, Smalls, you want a s'more?
Yeah, so that stuff's awesome. But Sandlot's great. Goonies is next. We got to get him into that.
I don't know if I've seen the Goonies, but I've saw the Goonies so long ago that I could not tell you anything about it.
Really?
It would be the one where I'd have to rewatch it and be like, okay, now I remember. It's like Gremlins. Like I remember that was on the other day on TV, and I'm like, the Gremlins were pretty freaky.
Yeah, they were.
Like I thought that was just kind of like, oh, they're like cute little things. Like you actually watch them today's day and age. I'm like, those are actually
no. I had nightmares from Gremlins.
Yeah,
like when they like spawn out of their back, like the eggs pop out, whatever.
Budding,
fucking weird.
Budding out. I just didn't know if the SNL thing was good though with Sandler, but I'm
gonna check it out.
Before we get going too late, what talk about your latest venture, your natural pulling that sap from the trees.
Syrup, baby.
How many taps you up? How many years have you been doing it? How many taps are you up to, and how many gallons do you produce?
Okay, so we started. Connor, it was Connor's idea. So he was in preschool at Little Saints, and they do a lesson, or I don't know what you call it, a block for a week or so on like Laura Ingalls Wilder, like Little House on the Prairie, and so they read those chapter books and explain everything to the kids, and they go through different lessons and do things about that. So anyway, Connor came home one day and he's like, "Do you think we could tap our trees like Pa did in the Laura Ingalls Wilder books?" And I had never read them or anything, but I knew enough to know kind of what, was back in the, whatever, 1800s, whatever it was, early 1900s, I don't know when it was. But so the house, or the property we have is in the city, but we have like 10 or 15 maple trees. And there's some pretty good sized ones. So anyway, he's like, "You think we could do it?" And I'm like, "All right, let's keep him busy. We'll do some stuff." So he goes, Pa took a stick and he drilled a hole through it, or he took a hollowed out stick, because they didn't have a drill back then, and he tapped the tree with that little stick. So we actually found a stick that was the right size. I took my drill, I drilled a hole in it, and the outer part of the stick stayed intact, so it was essentially a tap. We drilled a hole in the maple tree and put that in, and put one of his little buckets underneath it, it was like a little insect collecting bucket, but we put a hook on it. And so anyway, sap actually started coming out. And I'm like, holy shit, this
Does it come out right off?
Yeah.
Wow.
If you do it at the right time of year. So once it's freezing at night, but it's above freezing during the day, the sap starts running. So anyway, that was the first year. That was probably, this might be the fourth spring we've done it. Might be the third. No, it's the fourth. So that was just the first introduction. I'm like, this actually might work. So then I started actually researching it. And then we went to Parker's for pancake breakfast.
Yeah.
And they had the CDL store, which they sell all the equipment for sugaring. And so I went in and talked to the girl that was working there, and she gave me more information. She goes, "Yeah, take the bucket, and here's a tap." And I bought up, just a single bucket and tap. And it was right towards the end of the season, but she told me what to do. So I tapped another tree with a legit, tap and bucket, and the bucket started filling up. And I'm like, holy shit, this does work. And then we used to have the fireplace out back, the huge fireplace. And I took one of Allie's good pots, and I built up like a little brick holder for it, and enough space to pile wood underneath it to have the fire. And we boiled the sap that way, like old school with firewood, and just in a pot. And, after 5 hours of doing that, it started to actually get sweet. I'm like, this is actually going to be syrup. And so over time, we've kind of honed the craft and made it a little bit different. But anyway, yeah, so now we've tapped every tree on our property, which I got 20 taps this year. And then we tapped one neighbor down the street has a huge maple in his front yard. We tapped his. And then my other neighbor, who kind of was helping me out with all this, he had like 7 other trees in his backyard. So we tapped those. And so we had about almost 30 taps. And this year we did about 9.5 gallons of syrup, which is, it takes 40 gallons of sap about for 1 gallon of syrup. So we did about 400 gallons of sap.
What's each bucket? 2 gallons?
The normal
the standard?
Stainless steel standard buckets are about 2 gallons. So yeah, those, when they start running and it's like, it's sunny day, days are sunny in 40s, 50 degrees, and it's below freezing at night, those buckets we're filling up on a daily basis. So we're getting, 60 gallons of sap. And actually my neighbor, who's an engineer, and he just loves to tinker with stuff, and he's awesome at it. But he was searching last year, he's like researching and stuff. He goes, "I think we could actually do reverse osmosis." And I'm like, "Are you serious?" Because like the big like syrup producers all do that, and for the most part, because that takes water, about 50% of the water out.
It cuts
the
time
sap.
in half, right? Or pretty close.
You boil half the time and you boil half the fuel, so it saves money once you've paid off the investment for the reverse osmosis system. But anyway, So he's like, no, he goes, there's this guy that has a YouTube video, and he puts the whole kit together, and you can buy it on Amazon, and we'll get it shipped. And he goes, I have an old grill cart. I was going to throw it out, but I'll just take the grill out of it and throw that out, and we'll keep the cart. And he goes, I'll mount all the tubing and all the membranes and filters in the cart, and then we can move it around from your house to my house, back and forth. And anyway, so we've got a reverse osmosis machine in a old grill cart, and it takes about half the water out of it, and then we use turkey fryers to boil the rest of the sap. And I think last year I did 6 gallons on my own, and then my neighbor got into it this year with his own turkey fryer and some of his, and together between all the sap we collected, we boiled all of it together, and we did almost 10 gallons, and it's
So how long does it take you to boil that down?
So I think I actually measured it this year. It took 6 hours to boil to get basically a gallon of syrup.
6 hours, okay.
And that's boiling super concentrated sap that we've run through the reverse osmosis. Mm-hmm. If before I had the reverse osmosis,
12 hours.
We only got that. He made that probably halfway through the season last year. So before that, I was just boiling raw sap, which is only like 2% sugar, and you have to get it to syrup state, which is, I don't even know the percentage, but it's up, I think, around 80% sugar, something like that. So you just sit there and boil all day long and just keep feeding more sap into it. And I mean, like, the big guys have these really wide pans that increase the surface area so it boils off much faster, whereas a turkey fryer, you're kind of a cylinder that's tall.
Yeah.
The surface area is not that big. But anyway, it's become like a fun thing, and like the whole street, we have like a pancake breakfast just like Parker's does and all the big guys. Yeah, and everyone comes down and we have syrup and we make little candies and we give out syrup. And actually one of our neighbors, she's been looking to buy maple syrup candy. And she was like, I'm flying out to see my son in Seattle. And she goes, can I take one of these to him? And it was like a little maple leaf that we made. And I was like, absolutely, take as much as you want. And she goes, he was like blown away. He's like, what? They made this maple syrup candy on West Court Street? And so now our candy is in Seattle, and then I think someone else took it down to Florida. So we're expanding.
Three corners of the country.
Yeah, we don't charge for the syrup. We just say donate to the propane fund, and we'll be all set.
I think we get a nice little mason jar every year, so it's good. How do you know when it's done? Is it just more like taste test?
Yeah, for me, I just I taste test, but there is a
probably like an actual meter that can
hydrometer is what it's called, where you can actually measure the sugar content. And Brix or Brix is one of the measurements, and I actually got one of those, but I broke it on the first try because it's glass with like this little metal bobber, and I'm like, well, screw that. I'm just gonna keep tasting it because I can figure it out.
More fun that way.
I know. I'm in a sugar high by the end of it.
When you what's the difference? Do you boil more or less for light or dark, or how do you get light and dark? So
what I've seen in the research I've done is that early in the season is when you get most of your light amber, because that's just how it boils down at the beginning of the season. As the season progresses, the minerals and nutrients change that make it darker, the syrup, as well as there's more bacteria that's built up in the taps and all of that. And all of that gets boiled out, so it's not harmful or anything, but that changes the color. But also, I think the longer you boil it, too, that can actually change the color a bit. Because what we'll do is we start out with whatever, 5 gallons in the pot and start boiling that. When it boils down to like 2 gallons, you add more, or we just add slowly over time. So you're boiling some of the same sap that you started with 6 hours before. So by the end, some of that sap has been in there for 6 hours boiling, at this. But it doesn't really make a huge difference, I don't think, as far as color. But yeah, in the beginning of the season is when you get your best color, I guess, as far as what people are looking for.
So I've never done maple syrup, but I've roasted coffee before.
Oh, you have?
You should do that if you've never done it before.
Did you go do it with Aaron's son?
No, I haven't. I want to do that. Oh. Yeah, no, I haven't. I've had if you haven't had the coffee yet, it's really good.
That's coming tomorrow morning.
Yeah, acceptance coffee. I just made some. Today's Tuesday. Made some on Sunday.
Nice.
It's really good. So I have a roaster, but it's more of like a home roaster. It's not anything huge.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's I'll have to show it next time you come over because I still have beans like I haven't even touched.
Really?
So if you take coffee beans look like peanuts, like the same texture, same look, a little smaller in size, but
Like peanuts out of the shell?
yeah, like go get like a Planters
Okay.
peanuts,
Yeah.
but just like the broken down ones, the half peanut halves or whatever. So you have they look like that. They're more kind of a greenish tan color, kind of like the color of that bag right there, the brown bag.
Yep.
So what happens is you take those, they put them in this roaster, it spins them and it heats it up. So it heats it up pretty high, and the heat basically does whatever, changes the compound of it, and it turns into the dark whole bean. So when you buy whole bean coffee that's been roasted, it hasn't been ground up yet, but it's been roasted. So and then you take they call it chaffs, whatever it is, like chaffs. It's like basically the covering. It gets shot all over. So when you get done roasting, what you want to do is you take like a paper towel, and I don't know if this is like the proper way to do it. It's the way I've always done it. Just lay out some paper towel. You pour the beans on top.
Okay.
Basically, let all the gas kind of get out because the heat and everything changing. And then you just kind of throw away all the covering or all the outer shells have been kind of taken off. Then you have down the actual whole bean, which is the darker, more traditional looking bean that you would see in a full bag, but that before you grind it down. So to take it from the whole bean state, or from the raw bean to the whole bean to the ground, it's the best tasting coffee. It tastes amazing.
I didn't know you could do it at home. Now I'm going to start doing that now.
You have to buy it. You can buy it online. I mean, you can go find those anywhere. But I got this at I believe Uncommon Grounds over in Burlington.
Okay.
Which is right on Church Street. If you go down, and I think it was there. Maybe it was Albany. One of the two.
They'll give you raw coffee beans.
You buy them.
Basically.
You buy raw coffee beans. Every once in a while, if you go to I don't know if Lakeside Coffee would have them up in Rouse's Point, or if you'd have to maybe Adirondack Coffee Roasters, but you have to find a legit coffee place. Like, you're not going to go to Starbucks and buy you can buy whole beans, but you can't actually buy unroasted coffee.
Okay.
And what I was told when I bought this was years ago, they said that if you have ground coffee is good for 2 weeks once it's open. Whole beans are good for 2 months, and these beans are good for 2 years. Meaning that because of the
before they're actually roasted. They're good
so
for 2 years.
you could keep them on the shelf for a year and a half and roast them. But it is, to me, the best coffee because it's so fresh. I mean, you're literally roasting it, grinding it, and
that's right up my alley. Like, I've been a coffee connoisseur since
you would love this. I mean,
since we had kids.
It's I think less work, but I haven't really gotten full into it. I would like to do it more. Like, usually I would do it like on a Saturday or Sunday when I have time, and I'll just keep making batches. And it depends that I think the longer you roast it, I believe it makes it into the dark roast. The longer you roast it,
pretty sure. And the caffeine content actually goes down.
Goes down, exactly. So it's the opposite. So people usually they're like, I'm going to stay away from the dark roast because it has more caffeine in it. And actually, it's the blonde roast
that tastes stronger, but it's actually less caffeine
because at that point it's been burned off more.
Right.
So if you're going to if you go to Starbucks and you get the blonde roast because you think the dark roast is going to jack you all up, it's the opposite.
You're going to get jacked up by the blonde.
Yeah, that's why breakfast blends are all light roasts, anything like that. So if you go get Green Mountain Coffee, the Lake and Lodge, Nantucket, those are all medium to dark. Where if you get the breakfast blend, those are always the light. Yeah, but I think you would enjoy it. I'll have to show you next time you come over.
I would love that, yeah.
Because it's a cool little system. I only have the machine probably costs like $120, like the roaster.
Wow.
So it's not like a huge industrial grade one, but I'm not mass producing. I mean, this is an easy way to make like a little batch that will last you for a week or so, and then you do the next one for the next week.
I might have to do that.
It's a really cool process, but the coffee tastes great.
Have you ever had the cat poop coffee?
I think you told me about this. I have not.
That's my best way of explaining what it is.
Is it?
No, there's these. I had an Adirondack Coffee Roasters. It's a place right on Route 3 or Cornelia.
Yep.
Allie heard about it, but yeah, there's these cat-like animals in India, I think, and they will eat the coffee cherries, which are basically the flour that comes where the coffee beans on the inside. Mm-hmm. They will eat those, and I think they basically just semi-digest. They can't digest the coffee bean all the way, but it passes through their entire system, and they poop it out, the coffee bean is still whole, and people go out and harvest
It's like a delicacy.
the bean out of this poop, this cat-like animal in India. And yeah, it was a $10 cup of coffee. And I was like, I'll try it. It was the least bitter, smoothest black coffee I've ever had. I put nothing in it, and I was like, wow, this is incredible.
They have it there regularly?
No, they got it
Like a
like as a special, because they have to import it, and it has to go through customs, this whole big thing, because it's like caviar. And they take the beans out of the poop, and it's obviously,
Yeah, it's not like...
they're cleaned, and then it's roasted, so it's like the poop is gone, and the bacteria is
So
gone.
is it just like the whatever in the stomach or the colon or whatever, or the intestines that this thing
It's like
through?
it starts to break down the bean a little bit, but not fully. And for somehow whatever reaction is in there, it makes it just this really smooth coffee, smooth like poop.
Comes right out. I'll
I had
have
to poop
try.
right after I had it.
Have you nature's laxative? Have you ever been to Chapter 1?
Yes, I love that place.
That's good. They have a pour over there. Did you get the pour over?
Yes, I love the pour over.
And that thing will jack you up.
Oh my God, yeah.
I love that, but it's not as much as this. Probably about 16-ounce cup.
Yep, but it is a lot.
It's all there, and that I haven't had it it's been a couple of months since I've had it. But anytime I go there, I get it, and you're wired for a little bit afterwards. So
I bought the pour over system from Starbucks like 4 or 5 years ago, because they would offer it there, and I was like, what is that? And then so now whenever I go, I'll either get that or a French press, and those are the two best ways I think to make coffee.
So a pour over is you get the filter, you put the beans in, and you literally pour over boiling water.
Yep.
And it just like drips through, and that's the coffee.
It's like its own little drip coffee, but it's not like a whole drip coffee maker. It's just this little colander, or this little cone.
Yeah.
And you get the cone-shaped filters. You put the amount of coffee you want in, you boil the amount of water you want, and then you basically, it drips right into your cup, like it sits right over the top of your cup. And that's the pour over. And then the French press is in the French press.
Well, I do the French press like Sunday. I did the French press. Like if I have time and I can grind it up, I can do a French press. I'm doing the French press. Tastes better. But do you think the pour overs? I think the pour over would be a more pure coffee, because you're dripping it through, or you're pouring through, versus because a French press,
out.
Yeah, French press sits in the water for a bit,
Right.
And then you just press the beans down, or the grinds down.
The French press that I've made, even when I try to do a coarser grind for that, I still get a lot more sediment in that. But as long as you just let your coffee sit for a little bit, it just pretty much stays at the bottom, and you can drink, until you get to the bottom, and it's kind of thick.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's funny because the same beans, the same roast, will taste different from a pour over to a French press to like a regular drip coffee maker. It's funny how different it'll taste, and how much more caffeine you get out of the coffee.
I've found that I'm turning more into a coffee snob lately, meaning the only reason I haven't had this in the longest time, and I got not Dunkin' Donuts, I got a Mick Cafe cup. So I've gone twice today. I've been through the drive-through in the last week 3 times at McDonald's. I haven't been through the drive-through through McDonald's in 10 years, 3 times.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I can't remember the last time.
So Friday we actually drove through, and we got crew like grilled chicken and apple slices going through, because
Gina said we
had to kill time. Well, actually, before we saw you guys, because we were picking up sushi. And then today I went to go get my eyes dilated, and I drove home, which now I know why they tell you not to drive. I got back here. I couldn't do anything for an hour. I had like videos on, and I was like eating, and I was just like, I'm just going to watch this because I can't focus on anything. My eyes are still a little messed up, so I picked it up this morning, and then I ended up going back up, and the only place between here and there was this. Otherwise, I had to go past the exit to get Dunkin' Donuts to swing back on.
Oh.
And it's okay. Not as good as I remember it being. And Dunkin' Donuts lately has like turned on to be like a really bad coffee.
Yeah.
So I'm very much a Starbucks guy. Chapter 1. if Chapter One had a drive-through, I would be there all
I
the
know.
time.
I know.
It's just tough to park and run in and grab coffee and come out. But I don't know. I do Dunkin' every once in a while, but I'm doing Starbucks when in doubt, 100%.
I'm not a huge fan of Starbucks regular just drip coffee that they've got on tap, basically.
Do they have pour-overs there?
They do. They will do a pour, but it takes time. And if they're busy, sometimes they'll be like, "Oh, we can't really do that." So to get a quick cup, because it tastes stronger than I like it, so I'll actually water it down sometimes if I really just need to go grab a cup and just put enough water in. But yeah, once we had kids, I never drank coffee until we had kids and we didn't sleep, and then it was like basically my whole day revolves around, all right, how much caffeine intake am I having in the morning, and then mediating how much I take in throughout the day to keep myself awake, basically. But I became a big snob because we used to have a Keurig, then I found out about, and I'm like, yeah, and I just had a cup, but that's just because I was here and I was like, I just want something warm. But
yeah, it's not good.
I haven't. But then we found the cups, the Keurig cups that were empty, the reusable ones that you can put your own coffee grinds in. So we started doing that, and then same thing, kind of like with syrup. It just became like this thing. I'm like, oh, now I can. I'm going to get a grinder and buy whole beans now because it's going to be fresher. Now I'm probably going to get the roaster and it's going to be even
night
fresher.
and day, yeah.
But now, ever since we got rid of the Keurig and just did either pour over or French press, or we got a newer kind of drip maker, but there's no heated element to keep the carafe warm. It's actually just a super insulated carafe. So it'll keep the coffee like at the same temperature that it was brewed at for like an hour. So you can pour a couple different cups over an hour and get the same heat.
I was told
without burning it.
I was told that the reason Starbucks, and again probably different kind of beans and stuff like that, but it's the heat at which they brew it is so high, and that I was actually told about this coffee. I haven't bought it yet. It's fairly. I mean, I'll buy it at some point, but it's a fairly expensive unit where it's not like the Mr. Coffee. But what happens is it heats up the coffee up to like, I want to say like 200 degrees, and it's not boiling, but it's pretty darn hot.
Yep.
And what it allows it to do is it comes through the actual coffee at a hotter rate, which I think does something to the compound of the beans to kind of bring more freshness to it, and probably with the bitterness or non-bitterness of it. And I believe that it comes out into kind of like one of those. Kind of like my French press has like the double insulated, so it stays hotter a lot longer.
And it's not sitting on a heated pot or whatever.
Yes, so it actually, it's not getting burnt at the bottom.
Right.
Like it's more.
That's Dunkin'. Dunkin' is always burnt.
Yeah, and it's kind of like I grew up on Stewart's coffee, which I can drink, but like if you see a full pot at Stewart, you always go for that first.
Yeah, exactly.
100%. But yeah, so I've been more of a kind of a coffee. Like, I mean, I drink more of a coffee snob now, just because I drink so much of it that I started drinking at 16 and haven't looked back.
Jesus.
Like, I mean, I've like daily kind of things since probably 16.
Wow.
And which is weird because people ask if you're like addicted to coffee. I like it, but if you told me today go a month without it, I'd be fine. Like,
really?
I don't.
You wouldn't have a headache?
No, when I get sick, or if I have like, if I get sick and stuff, I'll go a week without coffee just to kind of like regulate, not drink more water so I'm not getting dehydrated. But I don't. I think I like coffee for the taste more than the caffeinated effect. I do get the caffeinated effect. I do get it for that every once in a while, but a lot of it I just like sipping on hot coffee.
Yeah. It jacks me up. Like for a while when I was doing a couple cups in the morning, then I'd always need one after lunch, and I'd sometimes have another one at night, and it was like it was too much. And I definitely, if I would have stopped, like the headache would have been ridiculous. So I had to slowly like wean myself off at like any addiction. And I had to like slowly drop down, and now we actually do half calf. We'll get regular and decaf beans, and I'll just mix them in the morning. And just because Allie's fine, she can stop, go anytime, and she won't have a problem. But like
she drinks coffee, right?
Yeah. But if I get into it too much and start my intake starts going up day to day, and then I'm like, oh man, here we go, I'm addicted again, and it's gonna be bad if I miss a day.
Did you? I think you did at Aaron's bachelor party. Were you one of the guys that got coffee at the German place? I think you did.
Yeah, probably.
'Cause I think
just to stay up for the rest of the night. Yeah.
And I remember we got there, and I'm a big. If I go out to dinner, like if we go out to dinner with friends and things like that, I'm not a big dessert person, but I'm 9 times out of 10 getting a coffee at the end of the meal. And we did that there. I think we did it at the Dave concert too. I think we all got cappuccinos or we got lattes or something.
Yeah.
My favorite locally is Latitude 44 because they bring you out your own little French press.
Oh, I love that. Yes.
And
it's a little mini one too.
It's a mini French press.
Yeah.
They bring it out and
it's a single serve.
Yeah, you actually press it down and it fills up the little glass mug. And
I always get the espresso at Anthony's after dinner.
Ooh, I have to try that.
That's a good one.
But yeah, I'm always a coffee after dinner kind of guy when I go out. It usually allows you to kind of get over the martini buzz, maybe at Anthony's. So it's a good little mixture. But
how are we doing on time?
We're good. We'll be out of here. If we leave now, we can.
You think anyone's still listening?
We can get you home. Well, it's not even live yet, so I don't care.
Well, I know, but I'm saying in the future,
would they?
Will there anyone still be listening at this point?
If you're listening at this point, message me
2.5 hours.
Message me coffee, and then I'll know that you made it this far.
I just want to make sure the kids are asleep before I go home.
Oh, I mean, we can. I know. It's like,
Allie won't be listening, but I'm sure someone will tell her that I said that.
Yeah, I'm looking at. Oh my God, I'm looking at Gina's order to Chipotle that she wants to pick up.
You better get on that.
It's good.
Madeleine's got pink eye, so I got her home tomorrow.
Oh, so actually, we're just gonna talk till we know they're asleep. I've never. The pink eye. Crew's good right now, but he's not. He's not with kids all day long. So once that happens, I know it's going to be just like snot and sickness and.
Yeah. Oh, Madeleine's been horrible. Connor never got sick ever.
Yeah.
Ever. Almost. I don't think he ever threw up until he got car sick once. But he's never thrown up from the flu or anything.
Yeah.
Madeleine's been every possible thing you could have had. And the thing with pink eye, our pediatrician, who I love, is he goes, the schools all have a conniption fit about it, but he goes, it's really not a big deal. There's really nothing you can do about it. He goes, the eye drops don't even do anything. Because that's the thing is they say, oh, she can't come into school for 24 hours until she's been on the drops. So if I have to go pick her up in the morning because I bring her in and I didn't realize she had it, this has happened before and it's probably going to happen tomorrow. But they'll call and I'll have to go pick her up. And it's 10 o'clock in the morning, she can't come in tomorrow because it's not them, it's the state regulations.
Policy.
But it's okay, I go bring her to the doctor, we go get the drops, and then it's well, she's got to be on the drops for 24 hours before she comes home. And our doctor's it doesn't matter. She's already been contagious before. She's still going to be contagious, so drops don't actually do anything. But it pleases the state and the schools, and they let it go.
I remember being a kid, pink eye was the greatest thing to have because it didn't affect you, and you got a free day off.
Felt like nothing.
You're okay.
It's funny because Allie, I said the same thing, but Allie's she used to get sick with it, like a cold, like a head cold.
My eye looked like... Actually, a year ago, right after Crew was born, me and Gina got hit with everything under the sun.
I remember that.
I had pink eye for 10 hours. It was the weirdest thing. I woke up, my eye was all like you had the symptoms of pink eye, and I'm I don't know if maybe we saw. Did I see you? I saw somebody, and I was I got pink eye.
Yeah, you guys were farting on each other's pillows.
Something, and
That's
I was
where it comes from.
I was sitting there. I'm what the hell's going on? And by middle of the day, cleared up. I had no problem. What the heck? And I literally woke up. I couldn't open my eye. I had all the crap that you would find from a pink eye symptom. And I'm what is going on? I'm as soon as I get a kid, I get pink eye again. I haven't had pink eye since I was 12.
Yeah, and shit's gonna start popping up that you've never realized you had.
Yeah, and now I see him. Of course, I was freaked out about diapers, and that's not a problem anymore. And then Crew's nose is snotty, and you just wipe his hand and wipe it under. Get to the point where it's you're completely immune to it. It's my kid. It's basically me.
One hand's wiping the diaper, and the other one's eating at the same time.
Well, so this was about a month ago. Gina had to go do a continuing ed course down in Clifton Park. Mm-hmm. I have never been left alone with Crew all day long, ever. Since he was born. Gina's never gone more. I mean, she's left for a couple hours or a few hours here and there. She leaves, so I get him out of bed. So it's all day, me and him hanging out. He wasn't eating a ton, but he was fine. I didn't really see much wrong with him. I gave him cottage cheese, which it was the day of the expiration date or the day after. But I took a bite. I'm tastes fine, so I gave it to him. All good. So we end up going out to dinner at Butcher Block with a bunch of friends, and we're in the back room. And Gina actually, did you hear about this?
I did.
Gina meets
now
us.
that you say cottage cheese, I remember that.
So Gina meets us at dinner. She's about 45 minutes after us, and so she shows up, and we're not thinking much of it, and we're hanging out. All of a sudden, she's with him, and she walks over. I'm talking to some people across, and he's like right over there. All of a sudden, I just see him projectile vomit, like just completely out on the floor. And I'm like watching in slow motion. Now he's a year and a half. He has never puked. I mean, he spit up as a kid, has never puked, never full on puked. And I'm watching. I'm like, what the hell? And puked. Fine. Then he's just like looking around, smiling, giggling, dog, butt, ball, whatever, like saying his normal thing. And I'm like, never even faced him. And of course, it got all over him and all over everything else. And so sure enough, the one day projectile vomits is the same first day that Dad gets to hang with him for the whole. And I'm like, he's been fine all day. He ate. He was good. She's like, well, what do you eat? What do you eat? I'm like, we ate this. He ate a clementine. I'm like going through the normal stuff that he eats. And I'm like, I gave him cottage cheese, which he eats cottage cheese. So I'm like, I don't. And then I'm like, well, the cottage cheese was kind of around the due date, but like I ate a bunch of like, I mean, I was kind of eating between his scoops. I'm like, it tasted fine. So I don't know if it was, I don't know what it was, but he puked. He was great. Fine rest of the day.
He's like Gina. Gina can puke and then keep running another mile. Like she
did that, which is true.
Yeah.
She puked one time. This is how gross she is. We were doing like the Murph workout. So she does the run. She goes back, does everything. Then of course she's on the last run and she's like trying to push the last run. She pukes, turns around and runs and finishes up. So then she's like, I puked. I'm like, really? Whatever. So we drive home. She's like, wait, pull over here. I'm like, what is it? She goes, pull over. She pukes. She took a photo of the puke to send to people. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So she ended up, I don't think I've puked once since I've known her. And that was when we were sick last year. I never throw up. And I think
me too.
If you think about it, knock on wood, I've probably thrown up twice ever because of alcohol-induced throwing, and being sick. Maybe 3 times ever, and I could probably count them in one hand because they're that vivid. I remember doing them. And she's just like yesterday, she wasn't feeling good. Like,
no big deal.
She's like puked like 3 times. I'm like, what?
Puke, and then she's fine. Like I will when I remember as being a kid, I would sit there and whine in front of the toilet for hours. Then I'd finally puke, and then it'd be horrible. And but it would be like I could not function like before, and it would be this whole big lead up to me finally puking, and then I'd be fine probably. But now if my stomach's upset, like I can't function. And she
like
just
bad memories come
puke,
back.
Whatever, get back to it.
Awful. We were visiting a friend's house, one of her friend's house. This is back in so gross. We were down in Albany visiting, and she wasn't feeling good at all. This was again a couple months ago. So she goes into their bathroom like towards the end, and we get ready to leave, and I knew she wasn't feeling great, but we were there for about an hour and a half. She was fine. All of a sudden, we're in the car. She goes, "Yeah, I puked in their bathroom." I'm like, really? It's like, yeah. So then we're doing the whole thing, and then she doesn't feel good at our other friend's house. She pukes at their house. Then we're getting ready to go, and we stop to get food on the way home. She's sitting in the back with crew. I go into like this really good like little bagel place and get a sandwich and stuff, and I come out. And she had puked outside the car. Like she was like, she opened the door, puked, shut the door, and I like walk up and I'm like, what the hell? So she did. This is like all within like 4 or 5. Yeah. Well, that was the first time I ever seen him, and I haven't seen him puke since. And he puked one time that day, and he's like, good to go. And Gina's like, she'll just puke throughout the day, and I'm like, that is, I don't know how. I guess she makes up for everybody else in the family, but
apparently,
yeah, she's that's rough.
Good way to end it.
Yeah, so if you made it this far, message me puke, and we know you made it here. So, anything else you want to say? We didn't even get into talk radio or podcasting or anything like that.
No, I know. So we'll do version 2.
Yeah, 2.0. We
part 2.
Maybe we'll do. I don't know. Yeah, we'll have a bunch. I
have questions for you. I'm gonna write down.
Perfect. Yeah, you got to come. Sometimes I have people prepared. Sometimes nobody's prepared. We just kind of roll off the cuff. We had nothing. Actually, I had 0 written down. So, first thing was JOPs, and we touched on that about 2 hours ago. So, no, I think we'll end there. I gotta go get some food, and you got to go attack a pink eye virus, perhaps. So,
yep.
All right. So that is it. Thank you, Guy, for joining us, and we'll end there. That's episode 32 of the Gaelan Trombley Show. We're out. Thanks for listening to the Gaelan Trombley Show. If you want to reach me, you can go on Facebook at Gaelan Trombley, on Instagram at Gaelan Trombley, and on YouTube at Gaelan Trombley. The spelling, Gaelan Trombley.